And it says we are live. Hello, everybody. I'm having a conversation today with Meta. I know it says propagate this light on the screen, but you're going by Meta, yes?
Yep, that's my name. Meta, my public performance name. And Propagate Light is called Propagate Light, and on YouTube I'm Propagate This Light. But right now my YouTube account doesn't have I'm not able to set a name for it. But that's the name that shows up in chat.
Cool, very cool. So let's see, where should we start? Do you want to start with when you were first affected?
You really want to know? Okay. Man. Okay. All right. Yeah, we can start there. That's fine. Okay, so this is how it happened. These incidents are real to me, and I know that if anybody else heard this, they'll probably be like, well, they'll probably say other things, but this is what happened. This is what was real to me. Is basically what I'm saying. So I heard about the Mandela effect on YouTube, and I forget which channel it was, and around that time there was a lot of stuff out there that in my mind that is put out there to distract people, you know. Um, and I thought the Mandela effect was one of those things. So I said to myself that, I'm not going to get into this because it's probably one of those things that are put out there to distract people, to keep them, fixated on things that are not that important, basically. And this is just another game that somebody made up or something like that. So I said to myself, well, if this particular thing changed that I know personally, that I know about personally, that if this particular thing changed, then I will probably get into seeing more about what the Mandela effect is about. Now I selected something that was personal to me, just out of nowhere, just out of the blue. If this particular thing changed, so that particular thing was in my storage. So I ended up in my storage one day, and I pulled out that particular thing. And I will say what it is in a minute. And basically it changed, and my mouth just dropped to the floor. And what that was my Bible. I found my Bible, and I knew that in the beginning, because I kind of studied the Bible, the King James, I was just interested in knowing what it meant. So I started off in the beginning, and when I was studying it, um, it was the heavens, the part where it says the heavens. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And I knew for a fact it said heavens because I was trying to figure out what did heavens mean. And I wrote that down on a separate piece of paper, and I was writing down a lot of stuff from the Bible that when I was going over it, so I could better understand what I'm reading. So when I looked in the Bible and seen that part where it said heavens and it changed to heaven, then that's when my mouth dropped. And maybe 2 or 3 weeks later, people are talking about it as the Mandela effect.
Like, that's shocking when it's something, like you said, that's on front of you that you know that nobody has touched and nobody has changed. Like, people were saying, like, oh, they're just changing things online, it's just Google, it's just, but
Yeah.
when it's your own things that nobody has could have possibly messed with, something is going
Right.
on.
Right. And then I even went to the place where I wrote it in a separate book. Some people write in the Bible, but I wrote on a separate book that had binder paper in it, and then I wrote that part down, you know, just so I could better understand it and read over it later or whatnot. So I went to that book. Now, guess what happened? You will not believe what happened. I found that book that I wrote in, and so when I wrote in the beginning, God created the heavens. It turns out that that part where I put heavens was towards the end of the paper, and that part was ripped out of the book where it said heavens.
Oh boy. Was the book ripped before? As in, like, you still wrote it in there, but there was like a tear at the bottom of the page, or the page was fine and it was ripped afterwards?
Man, this book didn't have no rips in the paper or anything like that. It was a fresh book, and I kept it for a long time, and it just stayed in good condition. It's kind of like a binder, but it was like a small book version of a binder, and it had like a when you close it, it's not the same paper that's inside. It's like a solid material. So I guess it keeps the paper from getting messed up. If
Yeah.
that makes any sense. So yeah, nah. Everything was cool with the other pages, but on that part where I wrote heavens, it was ripped out. It was like it was purposely ripped out of the book or something. You know, I don't know if I'm making sense.
No, you're making sense. It's just kind of chilling that like that word in particular was ripped out instead of, any other word or any other sentence.
Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to, that's what I'm trying to say. It was just that particular word was ripped out of the page, and so yeah, so I'm part like afraid, like not afraid, but I don't, I'm confused with what's going on. Basically, I know there's something else going on here, and I just couldn't put my finger on it. So yeah, I'm happy for the community. Um, people experiencing some of these same things, and so I'm happy to be on with you right now to be able to even talk about it. Because maybe somebody else out there went through the same thing, and I'm able to better understand myself, to hear more stories like this.
Yes, for sure. I think that's unfortunately just like one of the things about how people have been taught perhaps in school or taught by society is like, don't trust your own eyes, wait and see if there's someone else to confirm it. So there's a lot of people that were like, I was Mandela affected, but until I spoke to somebody else, it wasn't real. And I'm just like, it's weird how we think that way. It's like, no, even if it just happens to one person, it's real, but it's hard to, like you said, learn from each other if it's only happening to you. Like it's a way more wealth of experience when you can talk to other people and put your heads together and be like, okay, what is this? What's going on here?
Right. Yeah, and like you said, that was a chilling experience. I mean, that still sticks with me to this day. It's like, how can that word just be ripped out of the book? It's just crazy, and that reminds me of when I save Mandela effects on my phone or something, and then something happens with my phone, or my phone breaks down or something like that.
Yes.
So what's that? What is that about?
I've had the same thing happen. And even now that we're gone live, we were talking for like, at least 15 minutes before we went live, and his audio was perfectly clear. And now that you're live, every now and then it's like cutting into your words. Like the signal is not perfect anymore because we're talking about this. Like if we start talking about football or about something else, there wouldn't be any problems. But when you start to talk about this publicly, then everything just goes crazy. The technology, the signals, it's kind of a deal. There was a change in the Bible that, just speaking of heavens, too, that I actually ended up arguing with some people in the community about, because the version that had always existed for me is, in my Father's house there are many rooms. If it was not this way, I would have told you. Jesus said. And there are people that come from, a background where it always said, in my Father's house there are many mansions. If it was not this way, I would have told you. And I'm like, to me, mansions, that doesn't mean anything. Whereas in my Father's house there's many rooms. That means there's many heavens. There's many, versions of everything. It's talking about like a multi reality experience, whereas mansions is just a bunch of houses sitting up in the sky. So I was like, don't you think the version that is from my reality actually has a deeper meaning than your one?
Well, do you think they both kind of mean the same thing?
To me, no, because I think, like, just from my point of view, when I picture someone saying, oh, there's all these mansions, it's just like, oh, there's mansions sitting up there, for you in heaven. So it's just where you're personally going to live. But for me, like, my Father's house having many rooms, that could be many different heavens. Some people say there's 9 levels of heaven, or there's 14 levels of heaven. Like, there's different heavens. And then the different rooms could also signify, like, these different realities that we're in. Not different, well, yeah, I am saying different earths too, but not in heaven. If you get me, it's saying that these things are possible. Like what we're going through right now is possible and was alluded to in the Bible, but not if you change the word to mansions. If you change it to mansions, that doesn't mean multi timelines. It just means houses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like everybody has their own house waiting for them over there. If
Yes.
that makes something like that.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I got you. I got you. Well, I have one other experience I wanted to share with you to see what you thought about it. Um, when I was probably about maybe about 7. See, okay, so let me take it back a little bit. I am clairvoyant and empathic, so maybe this has something to do with it, and I'm not sure. So when I was probably about 7, I was taking a walk to school, and I had a lunch pail with me, right? And this is going to sound weird, but this actually happened to me. Um, there was a cartoon on my lunch pail, and it was a dog. It was a family with a dog. Now, something moved me to lift up my lunch pail and look at it, and when I did, oh man, when I did, they became animated. The dog was running around and chasing his tail. The guy was moving around. Has I never heard anybody talk about anything like this before, but that actually happened to me.
No, I believe you. I've had things like that happen where I've like seen like I in particular I remember this like billboard, and it was like an LED billboard. It wasn't like a paper one. And the guy was like animated and moving around, and I was pointed it out to everyone around me, and he didn't move. And they're like, "Are you sure? Are you feeling okay?" And I'm like, "No, seriously, he was moving." And
Oh
I don't
man,
know like if that's like an interdimensional thing or if that's a or what type of thing that is, but yeah, I've seen that too.
man, yeah. When that happened, I just kept walking like it was normal. But now I'm thinking about it now as a grown man. It's like that's not supposed to be normal. You know what I'm saying? Like, wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. And that reminds me of another situation that happened to me when I was a little bit younger. Has this ever happened to you? Like, I was okay. So here I am laying in bed, and I'm looking at. I had like a fake tree in my room at the time. So I'm just laying in my bed, staring at it. And in my mind, I was thinking I just wanted to leave my body. I didn't know anything about OBEs or anything like that. I was just moved to feel that way, to just get out of my body or whatever. And then so I'm fixated on this tree in front of me in my bedroom, and all of a sudden, the leaves on the tree started moving like they had a conscience, and then they merged into a talking animal, and it spoke to me. Now this is I just reminded myself of that, and I'm just sharing that. But usually I wouldn't put that out there like that. But since we're on that topic, has that ever happened to you?
Well, I've definitely had like some out of body experiences. The ones from when I was younger were negative because it was like not something I was trying to do. It's this whole other story. But before I even go into that, you know that like the regular people have to take ayahuasca or DMT or something to be able to vibrate at that level to even see that, and you can do that
Mm,
without any help. And the same thing with like the animation things that you're seeing. My thought was if everybody told you it was normal, maybe you could still do it today. But because the expectation has been put down on you by people that can't do what you do, then you block yourself. Like you make your light dimmer to fit in with them. And I'm just like, we need to start shining at the level that we shine and never mind what they're talking about because they're living in a different reality. They can't do what you do, they can't see what you see.
hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. That's crazy. So that has something to do with clairvoyance, or
Yeah. As in like the different there's so many different places that you can go. Like if you basically if your consciousness is vibrating at a different level, you can go to denser places, you can go to less dense places, and there are places that people tend to go over and over, which is strange. And like usually people talk about it either in like testimonies about doing ayahuasca or DMT or something, or even near death experiences. And I'm just like,
mm,
okay, there are actual places that several people go. So you could almost map out these different places consciousness goes when it's not slowed down by a body to a point where it's just kind of stuck sitting there, which is, really the issue is density. And we're so dense that we're, in this body we can't really just fly around, do all kinds of amazing things as you could in your
Hmm.
spirit form. But
Hmm.
as you can see, the world around us is not really acting that way anymore because things are changing. And if they were really dense, that it would take an enormous amount of energy to change in any kind of way. But
Hmm.
things are changing absolutely all the time. So that's telling me the world around us is getting less dense and less dense. And it might be something to do with revelation or end times or
Hmm.
all these different things people are talking about. Different people from different religions are all telling me like this is a big time where things are going to change, and
Hmm.
I'm just like that's kind of the same message I'm getting, whether it's the New Age people or the Christian people or the native peoples, or everybody's kind of saying the same thing, except no one's really sure where this is going to lead to, as far as I know.
Right. Right. So you said things changed. Do you think it's more of things changing, or is it we are the ones that are changing? And like you said, going into different vibrations of the of the world.
Yeah, I think that as far as I don't think that we personally are going out there and trying to change the logos of things. I think it's more tied into the unconscious mind and memory and all kinds of different like kind of how things are weird in a dream, but they
Hmm.
usually mean something deep down. Like if you can decode specifically what that means to you, and I think
Hmm.
that's why we see different changes at different times. Is like
Hmm.
there's a part of us that's like talking to us, but we're so far disconnected from it, we're not really sure what it's saying.
Mm. Okay. 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 Yeah. So you're saying that, and I think about that when you said maybe it's not us going out there changing the logos, but um I have this Costco experience. You know the store called Costco.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you ever hear that audio that I sent you earlier about the Costco?
Yeah. We've talked about the Costco before.
Yeah, yeah, okay. So yeah, so I don't know what that is then because I feel that maybe that was me. Because I used to go to Costco all the time, like I was saying, and then I'm looking up at the sign thinking that it makes more sense if there was a T in it, and then 2 weeks later, it's a Mandela effect with a T in it. So I'm confused. Am I? Are we the ones, creating these logo changes, you know, and not realizing it, or did I end up in a different reality where that T exists in the name?
See, that's a question right there. Is were you more attracted to a place where the T was in the name because that made more sense to you, or literally did it change because you looked at it and you thought, "Hey, that's not correct," and you like corrected it somehow, and you're not even sure like how exactly you did that? And all options are on the table right now because we're not really sure what the boundaries of this whole thing is. All we have are like our observations and our theories,
Mhm.
but there's no direct answers as to like what is the overall that is going on.
Right, right. I mean, I really didn't know things were like this. And when these things happen, it's just kind of like, whoa, and you feel like you can't really just talk to anybody about it. But when you try, it goes into those reactions, of people that are not affected. I've been through that a lot. My relationships changed. Um, and so I've been through that. I've been through the body changes, and it's just weird because it feels like you know I'm on my own sometimes, and maybe that it's meant to be that way, you know. But definitely happy to be able to speak to somebody about it right now.
I hear you, and I'm not sure. Like I've theorized that maybe the reasons that we're on our own is so that we
Hmm.
can really study and look into this.
Right.
Whereas if we were with a whole group of people, we'd be like, oh, let's go off and do something fun and not sit down and focus because that's what we tend to do when we're with groups of people. Whereas
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
isolated, of course, we're going to search for information. It's turned us all into pupils again. It's like we're all at school again.
Right. Right. And I consider that part of it too. I mean, I really do like that part of it as well. But there are those moments when you just feel like you're the the alone person in the park and you just kind of want to play with somebody just for, if that makes any sense, you want to be able to share some of the experiences because like I said earlier, we could learn off of each other, but when the time is right, like right now, I definitely appreciate it, but I have one more experience to see what you think about.
Sure.
This one time this guy approached me on the street, and he basically was saying that I had a conversation with him about life, and I didn't know him from anywhere. And he was like, "No, no, man, it was you." And I'm like, I don't even know you, So I really believe that it was me, but I don't, I didn't recognize him. I mean, I believe his story that it was me, but I definitely didn't recognize him. But I've heard stories that sometimes there's different versions of us you know, that are walking around, I guess, and interacting. Does that make any sense?
Yes, I've heard like people have like both good and bad stories with that. Like I heard, I think one of the most unfortunate stories, and I can't remember his channel name right now, but it was like a different version of him, like speeding or driving recklessly or something. And he's like, as far as I remember the story, like he's caught on CCTV, like his face or whatever, so he gets in trouble for this, and he knows he wasn't out that night and he wasn't driving.
Mm.
So I was like, oh, that is unfortunate to like if it's something that got you in trouble that night that you literally didn't do, but it's you on camera, so there's no way out of it kind of thing. And then for other people it's more like going into a store and people are like, oh, you're back again, you were just here. And they weren't there at all that day, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that is trippy. Oh man. So it's kind of like, man, this is something new. I mean, I wasn't raised in knowing this type of stuff, so it's pretty fun. It's pretty fun. But then there's moments like you said that it's like, man, that's not me. Uh, man, oh man, oh man, oh man. So has that happened to you?
It has happened to me. Like I've had not thankfully not the getting in trouble stuff, but definitely people
Yeah.
saying like you were just here, and I'm like, no, I wasn't. And they're like, well, do you have a sister or someone that looks just like you? I'm like, no, I don't. This kind of thing. And I've had weird stuff with like my bills, where like the dates have changed or I paid it when I didn't, and just things that don't make sense. And I had this issue where there was this bill where the due date would change every single month. So eventually I got mad and I was like, I just cannot coordinate myself when you keep changing the due date. And the lady was like, no, it's on the same day every single month. It's here on my computer. And I'm like, damn it, that's not the reality I've been living, because it has been different every single time. So it's been insane trying to do this.
Man, it's crazy. I haven't actually been through all that right there, but the whole thing with the guy telling me that he spoke to me before, and I'm like, I don't even know you. That's the only thing that I can recall that happened to me that's like that. But the bills, that's just crazy. That's crazy to go through that, and it's your bills too, so you want to be sure it's paid.
Yes, you want to make sure not to like have any drama with that. But like when everything is changing around you, what can you do? It gets a little bit chaotic. You're just kind of like, okay, I woke up today and like the like buildings, like the big skyscraper buildings are all different. I've spoken before about like where I used to live, there was this big tall Chase building, like just like a medium-sized skyscraper. It has changed so much, and it is now the weirdest looking building. It's gotten really tall, it's gotten really short, it's gotten really square. Now it's like a stubby, like really stubby small skyscraper with like a big rectangle hanging off the side of it. It's like the weirdest shape ever. It's gone completely crazy. And it's like a place where it's really easy to see because there's lots of junctions of roads there. And I can't find one person that remembers it looking any different, even though it changes like every month.
Wow, that's crazy.
And it's like, does no one remember when this looked like just a normal building? Nope. Yeah. Nobody's got any idea. And there was this tree that kept appearing and disappearing right in front of it. And I mean like a big old tree. So sometimes this tree would block the chase sign.
Hmm.
So I'm like, if that tree was always there, I wouldn't have called it the Chase building because you couldn't even see the word Chase because there's this huge tree. And then
Hmm.
sometimes that huge tree is just not there. It was never planted. Sometimes it's cut down and sometimes it's back again.
Jeez, that's crazy. That is crazy, man. I don't know what's going on. Like, are things changing on this own? I think I already asked that. Are things changing on their own, or is it because you're? It's not like you. Well, So that place is in your environment, so you're used to seeing it all the time. So I'm pretty sure it's been in your mind, and then maybe that connected with things changing on its own. Like, I don't know what's going on because I was in a certain environment before myself, and I said to myself, it's an environment that I used to travel all the time, and I said to myself, it'll be cool if there was a building that represented this particular service that I was looking for. I forgot what that was. And then one day I went that direction, and there was a building there for that particular service, and it never was there before. You
It
know.
sounds like you've got like a lot more like control of this. Like for me, I never even think like, oh,
Hmm.
I'd love to have a building for that, or I wish this was different or something. I just kind of like, try and flow like water and not
Oh, yeah, yeah.
approach things, and things just change wildly around me. I never say, oh, I wish it was something else or something else. And it just keeps changing and going crazy. Maybe if I actually
Mm-hmm.
had a clear vision and was like, I wish it was this, maybe it would be more directed. I don't know. I've never done that because I never assumed that I was the one changing it. I just thought I was the observer. Like it's changing and going crazy and I just see it changing. But maybe it's a different relationship than that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, maybe that has something to do with tapping into our actual, not actual, but tapping into our spiritual abilities to where maybe it is kind of like a simulation or something. Let's say it's a simulation and things change like that all the time and you're able to catch that because you're more conscious of it, of yourself as well spiritually. And at the same time, you can control it. You can say, hey, you want this and then it will show up. Maybe that's a part of us being powerful in our spiritual abilities. Maybe.
Yeah, especially with it being a simulation, because then it's not even like you're changing something that's, dense and solid and real. You're just like hacking a computer game. You're just like using a
Hmm.
cheat code and like changing a computer game, which is a totally different way to look at things. And I used to not really, you know, think it was the simulation theory, but I'm giving it a second look for sure because I've seen a lot of weird things recently that make me think it really could be like that, which is
Mm.
strange because, like I said, I have not felt like that in the past, but I'm starting to feel that way now.
Hmm.
And just some things like the sky and the way that buildings and things change, it makes me wonder if somehow it
Hmm.
is a very advanced simulation and there's someone out there just messing around, just typing in random codes and just like going
Hmm.
crazy like they're playing The Sims or something.
That'll be crazy. That'll be crazy if the camera backs up all the way into outer space past the Earth, and it's just like this, like you said, somebody playing a video game, and we're a part of it, and we're inside of it.
It's
Man.
definitely made me think twice about like people that, and I know this is like a ridiculous thing to say, but I might say it anyway. It like makes me wonder like if the whoever's interfering with this game, or if it's just the game interfering with itself, like if it has any empathy for us, like for us, and sees us as real souls, which we are, or does it think that we're just like The Sims and it can just do whatever it wants? I don't know.
Hmm. And maybe we're waking up to this. Let's just say, just speaking as it being a simulation. I'm not exactly sure. You're not sure, but let's just say that it is a simulation. Um, and so, what if we're waking up within it, and the part that's waking up within us is that God part? And what is God? You start getting to like what is God and um, what is energy? Do you know what energy is? Like, what is our soul? What is that?
It's like beyond words.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's probably that part of us that's waking up, which is the actual real us, which is why when you cross over, that is more real than than here. But what is here? What is here? Like, what is here? You know?
Well, what if here is just like a weird experiment of some kind? Like, I've heard people say that they think that we always had great spiritual presence and spiritual manifestation and spiritual ability, but that we're being used to run this simulation. And that's why we're so drained
Mm,
that usually we can't do much. We're just like being tapped, kind of like how you would take, maybe the maple syrup out of a tree. They're just sticking us full of taps to get this energy to run this simulation around us, and we're too weak to get out of it because we're the ones running it, power wise, not intent wise, and that system is breaking down, and that's why the simulation is going insane, because it doesn't have a reliable source of power, so it keeps rebooting and changing and going crazy. And we've got far more spiritual presence now, like we're turning back into ourselves because we're not being tapped so heavily because that system is falling apart.
mm. Right, right, right. So I have one other experience to see what you think about, and to see what you think about it.
Sure.
Um, okay, so recently I was thinking about, because I used to go down this particular street, and I was just thinking to myself, what if a ball just came rolling out? Because there's houses on that street, and I think it's kind of dangerous. Like, let's say if kids are playing, and I was just thinking, like, what if a ball just rolled out into the street and a kid came running after it, and there's a busy street, with cars. And I was just thinking about that thought, right? And then, so let's say maybe 4 days later, I'm speaking to this female, and we're talking about different stuff, and she says, I have a friend that works for Lyft, and she told me that she was going down this street, and this red ball came rolling out into the street, and this toddler came running after it. And I'm just like, wait a minute. How is this even possible? I was just thinking that. Oh my goodness.
I kind of like love thinking about like if something happens like that, like something dramatic and scary happens like that, if it kind of like ripples out through time, like backwards and forwards, and some people can see that ripple, and they're like, whoa, what if this very particular thing was going to happen? I'm just picking up on this for some reason, I'm not really sure why, and then it happens. And like, you picked up on it from the past and you caught up with it in the present, or you could have just as easily had thought about it and someone told you like, oh, 3 days ago that exact thing happened, so you're picking up on it from the future can happen too.
Wow, that is crazy. That is crazy. So has that happened to you before? Something similar like that?
Yeah, but I'm just like, if I get like a thought like that where I'm worried that someone's going to be in danger, like I push it out of my head immediately because I don't want to put any
Hmm.
energy into that to like make that happen. And
Exactly.
like, even if I don't have that ability, I'm just afraid like somehow it'll help that to happen. And I'm like, no, I don't want any children to get hurt or people to get
Yeah.
hurt. So those thoughts do come to me, but like I push them away. And I'm not sure if that's what I'm supposed to be doing, but I'm not
Hmm.
sure, like, it's when you're picking up on something like that, it's not like a dream where you can kind of change it to something else and make it like a happy ending. You're just kind of
Hmm.
picking up on something and it's not good.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
And I've heard that some people say that those thoughts are coming from, not a nice place. You're being influenced to think that way. Do you think that's true? Like,
I honestly think if you start to get filled with a rage that comes out of nowhere, that's a
mhm,
parasitic energy field right there. That's something else that's trying to use you as a vehicle to do whatever, evil is trying to do. I think that most people in the ME community, we don't have that. Like, we've gotten to a point where we're not palatable for things like that anymore because they like darkness
mhm,
and we're full of light. So they don't really enjoy hanging around us. But any person, I suppose, that's still, in an earthly kind of form is still in danger of, there's nasty things hanging around on this plane of existence, and they're just one hair's breadth away, always. So, yeah, they can definitely bust through and wreak some havoc, but then they usually, kind of have to go back where they're from again because it takes a huge amount of energy to manifest especially in any kind of solid way, into this plane.
Hmm. And so, do you think that they can exist not just a hair frack away, but within a person and
If a
feed that way?
person gives them permission, yeah.
Oh, okay,
Like
okay.
some people, that's their thing. Like they're attracted to that. They don't like, light or angels or anything like that. Like some people, they really like the
Mm-hmm.
dark and they want that nastiness, and your
Mm-hmm.
consent is what the whole thing is based around. If that's what you're into and you consent to it, then yeah, it can totally happen. And I don't
Yeah.
know if, I'd say that's a rather unwise decision, but I'm not going to tell adult people what to do because I have to respect their free will as well. All I can say is,
Mm-hmm.
like, in my opinion, that's like, holding on to a grenade and pulling out the pin and, still holding on to it and hoping for the best. Like, there's just no good outcome for that. But, if that's
Mm.
your thing, like, go wild, man. It's like, even
Yeah.
if something dark tells you it's your friend, it'll always bite you in the ass in the end. That's why it's the dark. Hello, it's not here to like hug you and tell you you're wonderful and have a great old time. you know?
Yeah. Yeah, because it's dark, and that's the thing. I think some people don't even realize what they're opening themselves up to when they make certain decisions or whatnot. Um, or even I feel even the television, or the radio, just media, some media, some stuff on TV. I'm not saying everything is bad, but I feel that when you get emotional into that direction, then you're opening yourself up to that particular reality, or like you said, if there's something lurking, you're attracting it. You know, that's what I believe. I believe the same thing as well.
Yeah, that you could like be accidentally giving it energy by investing into, a massive amount of emotions into a disaster or into, whatever drama is on the television. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
just like, this constant drama that's on the television, I think, is on purpose, both to keep people busy and properly to harvest energy and emotion and everything else from people. Because people think that
Yeah.
that's not important, but I'm like, if that isn't important, then why is there an entire branch of understanding that's based around sigils where it's literally energy harvesting? Energy harvesting
Right.
is a real thing. It's definitely part of the reality of what's going on here. Spiritual circuitry is a real thing. We're not taught anything that's actually real and purposeful for us. And I think that that's because there's such a small number of us that we're taught things that for us specifically are completely irrelevant. But for people that are living non affected lives, it's perfectly fine for them. And just being in such a small number, we have to kind of make our own way with everything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
a certain it's an ignorance, because are being disenfranchised, just not knowing, and then you're just I've been there before myself, acting on impulse, you know, and not knowing that I'm opening myself up to other things. Um, so I think this is sort of it's like an ignorance as well with people that they just don't know. And even if like you said, sigils, people knowing certain things about, you know, um how one can harvest energy, or they're just not into that. They're more into, like you said earlier, the football game or something like that, or watching the soaps. So they don't really know that this other stuff is actually what's going on, around them or within them. And so they're, you know, opening themselves up, not even realizing it.
True. And it's like, again, it's like we have to respect their free will. If that's just what they want to do and they voice that, then we have to just let that go. But for
Mm,
people that are kind of wondering, like, what is really going on in the world? And some of them are, already kind of in the truther thing. They're looking and seeing things that don't add up and they're starting that journey of like, what is going on here? Those are the
mm,
people um, that it's good to talk to and be like, and tell them like, hey, after a couple of years of this, you're going to see that life is weirder than you ever imagined. Like, it's not
mm,
just a surface level of things aren't right, but things are completely weird in this place. There's several different layers of things going on, and things that we thought were real are not really real in that sense at all. It's not. Uh,
yeah.
Things are not written
Yeah.
in stone forever. It's so weird, like that maybe 200 or 300 years ago, the map of the world was completely different when people were, going around to different countries and having different wars, doing whatever they were doing back then. When you take the Mandela effect into the equation with how much the world has changed since like 2015 for a lot of people, I know it's different for different people depending on what year they started to be affected. But I'm just like, with the amount of change and continental shifts and everything, this world that we think has been here forever has not. It was probably a completely different world 300 years ago, and probably a completely different world back when the dinosaurs were around. We actually have literally no idea what's going on. We don't know what the real past was because they were able to change the past on levels we didn't even realize. I thought it was just like hiding artifacts, lying to people about where we were with technology.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, no, you can rewrite, change, and move entire continents and civilizations. And then the mud flood, the Tartaria mud flood, I'm just like, okay, so from where we're standing right now, we have actually no idea who we are, where we came from, and what we did in the past
Mm-hmm.
to any degree. And like, that's conspiracy off the wall right there.
Yeah. I think it goes back to what we were saying earlier. We have this power that we could tap into, that we could, do these things. So you talking about the past? Have you heard these stories about these people seeing pterodactyls? What do you think about that? Have you heard about
I
that?
think that's totally, and I know people are going to go, what? But I'm like, that's totally reasonable at this point. Like, I've literally heard of not only people dreaming about dinosaurs and things like that, but there are certain number of people, and this was in 2017, who shifted to a place where there still were dinosaurs, but none of them went public about it because they thought everybody would laugh at them and call them nutcases and head cases and, crazy and everything, like within our own community, because they just thought it was too weird.
Mm-hmm.
But these people were like questioned separately to see what things they specifically saw, to make sure they weren't making up the stories, and they actually were, their stories matched. So to me, like, that's enough proof for me of like, okay, if you have like 6 people that are not living together, they don't know each other, like they're not influencing each other, and their stories match, then they did go to the same place and they saw the same things. And I'm just like, okay, so somewhere here, dinosaurs are still around, which makes sense because the past and the present and the future is all in one big stew pot right here. That's why things just pop up out of nowhere. Like, extra pyramids have shown up in Giza recently. Like I said, the Tartarian mud flood showed up for me because that didn't exist where I was from. There's all kinds of like ancient, what was it? Like a big Chinese underground temple showed up out of nowhere. There's pyramids showing up like all over the world that weren't there. Like, there's just extremely bizarre things from the past showing up everywhere. So I'm like, okay. And extinct animals, things that were extinct, have come back again. And scientists are just like, okay, well, somehow it's not extinct anymore. And like, that barrier is broken. Things that were dead now live. Things that were lost are now found. Things are coming to the surface. And it might be that maybe things were so extreme and so controlled and so contrived within this world or simulation or dream or whatever it is that we're in right now, that the pendulum is swinging back the other way, and all the things that were oppressed are now coming to the surface. I think it could be like that. Like, maybe there was just too much control and too much silencing and too much lies, and it made the coin tip over, so to speak, or it made the scales tip, and now all of these things they were trying to hide are right in front of everyone's faces, including, like I said, to your own self, your own spiritual, not just ability, but when I say manifestation, I mean who you are. Like, you can feel your own spiritual presence. And that's really important, because for a lot of people's lives, all they could feel was their own body, just the body, that's it. And it's like, you are not the body, you're the spirit that animates it. And as soon as you can feel that, then you're feeling your real self, and you're starting to be your real self again.
Right. Do you think the body is an avatar?
Yeah, like, since being more agreeable with the simulation theory, because of like new evidence and new things that I've seen, I feel like the body is a vehicle to explore this low or of a place of density. Because I feel like without the body, we would rise up to heavenly places like immediately. But because we're kind of trapped, like kind of stuck onto the body, we're kind of almost being held like bubbles underwater. Like we want to go up to the surface. We're being pulled up towards heaven all the time because that's where we belong. But we're somehow trapped under the water, so it's quite uncomfortable to be here. But at the same time, you could say, well, it's underwater exploration. We're exploring this level, this layer of existence for some reason. Unfortunately, there's no instruction book as to why, because, you know, if we came from heaven, why would we come down to a place that they say that, you know, the world is Satan's kingdom? What business would we have here doing that? Wouldn't it have been better to just stay in heaven?
There you go. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. Do you think that we have different realities to where our consciousness is bouncing around to different avatars of our body? It doesn't work like that?
Personally, I think that we're so big that we don't have to bounce around to different avatars. I think that if you could imagine it again as kind of like a big bubble of consciousness, like we're so big, we're connected to all the different avatar versions of us at the same time, but there's a frequency jam that we can't connect. Like we're not consciously aware that we're moving all the avatars at the same time, but we are. And then when you have a deja vu, that's when that jamming breaks down. You can see, oh, I already saw this, I already did this. Yeah, because you already did do it in a version of yourself.
Okay. And I heard something different about that. That could be the source. Whereas we dreamt of that moment. Have you heard of that theory? We dreamt of that moment, and then we're remembering it as it happens.
Yeah. Like
Okay.
I've had times where I would dream a deja vu and then, you know, catch up with that in awake life and live it again, like exactly the same. So there's definitely like a connection there. And maybe because dreaming is outside of time, it's kind of like the same thing as like DMT or ayahuasca or any of those things that really change your frequency. Like your brain waves change when you go into sleep. So you're literally in a different type of consciousness and it's outside of the illusion of time. So you probably can see the future and the past and things like that, which, you know, is not important when you're outside of it. But when you wake up again and you're back in, you know, the spiral of time, then you have a little glimpse of the future or the past with your deja vu.
Right. And I think the key here is also to know that time is just a measurement of moments, I guess, you know. Because, you know, when you get stuck on time, you know, you're thinking, okay, I got to be at work at a certain time. And you get locked into that pattern. And then that's what's real to you, you know. Sometimes, like you say, being underwater, you know, I came up for breath a few times, you know, as far as OBE,
Yeah.
you know, and I believe that the dream state is not just in my head. You know, sometimes I wake up in different locations, you know, and that's through the body. That's through the body being the body resting moments, or we call sleep.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes I find myself in different locations, and that's a whole nother thing. But yeah. What do you think about that? Has that happened to you, to where you'll wake up in a different location and then you'll wake back up here, but you know that you were there for real, for real?
Yes, absolutely. I get what you mean now. Yeah, because I can tell the difference between when I'm dreaming and when I'm literally somewhere else. And I think, like, unless it happens to a person, you can't explain that, because, you know, a person say, "Oh, you're just dreaming." It's like, no, if you lucid dream, you can tell that, like, really warm, foggy kind of feeling where you know you're inside the brain and you know you're dreaming, even though you're seeing the panoramic vision of whatever world it is that you're dreaming about. But when you're literally somewhere else, you can feel the ground underneath your feet. You can feel the temperature of the air, the wind blowing. You can feel, like, literally go and touch things. And sometimes it's so deep that you have no memory or recollection of this place that you wake back up in. And, like, you wake back up here and be in shock and take a minute, and then suddenly you're like, oh yeah, I remember this. Damn, I don't really like it here, but okay, yeah, I remember this reality as well.
You're back on the training ground.
Yeah, you're just like, yeah, it's a bummer, you know.
Yeah. I mean, there's moments like this where I enjoy. I do enjoy a lot of stuff that's here, whatever here is. But as far as waking up somewhere else, a situation well, I had an experience to where when people talk about it being a simulation, I'm lean on that experience as okay, I think it probably is. And this is a situation where I woke up somewhere else. But and yeah, so it may be a simulation. I don't know. But at the same time, I'm confused because maybe I just woke up in a different, woke up somewhere different, but that place exists. But maybe there's how can I say it? There's multiple, like you said, past, present, and future. Maybe there's multiple realities going on. And maybe maybe it wasn't just that I woke up there and like, oh, hey, it's a simulation for real. What I mean, if that makes any sense, maybe that place was one of many different realities I just woke up in. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, like I wonder myself if these other places I go to are inside or outside of the simulation. Like, is it just different versions of this, or is it not? But like this place here, honestly, has the lowest is the wrong word. It has the most density. Like, I feel the heaviest here. I feel the most like heavy emotions here, and just the weighing down of like the density of this place. I immediately know where I am by just feeling, even if I'm still working out in my mind, like, where did I just come from and where did I go to and where am I now? Like, the conscious mind is still trying to figure things out by feeling. Like, my heart already knows, like, this is like your lowest point. This is the heaviest point that you still exist at, is inside of this weird Orion simulation place. And I mean, on another note, I have heard people say that once upon a time, this simulation was like a really cool, awesome adventure game, like dream experience, like amazing place, and that somehow it just kind of turned to it went bad, or it went wrong, or it got worse. Like, the game just is not what it's supposed to be right now. There's something wrong with it, and that's why people kind of dread being here instead of love being here, like, compared to like the higher astral places or the heavens or all the other places you can exist in. This place has turned into like a low point for a reason. And I'm just like, I think it's because it's so dense that it's too close to the places where the nasty things exist, and that's why it's a bummer, like, to be here.
Yeah, and that definitely sounds like in the beginning in the Bible, it was paradise at first, and then it wasn't. Of
Yes.
Garden of Eden. Okay. Have you ever experienced your body vibrating?
Yes.
Like, okay. Tell me about it. What happened? If you don't mind.
Like, I mean, I've had different times, in my life where I thought like my phone was vibrating or something, and I didn't have my phone on me at all, so that was just like partial. And then I've had times where it just kind of felt like everything was vibrating. And I've also had times where I knew that I was moving faster, like particle molecule wise, than the things around me, or I was moving slower than the things around me. And it's like, if you happen to be in a state where you can change the speed at which you're existing at, that's when you have the most kind of control about the things that are around you, because the more you match the speed that the things around you are vibrating at, the more solid it is and the more kind of trapped with it you are.
I'm trying to understand that. Yeah, yeah. Wow. Okay. I mean, I understand what you're saying. I'm just trying to put it all together in my head, because that never happened to me. That's crazy. I heard stories like that to where somebody was in danger maybe, and then all of a sudden everything just moved slow, and then they were able to, get out of that situation. Everything went in like slow motion.
Yes, I've heard those stories. Those are, I believe them too. That like everything just like they knew it was such an emergency that they clicked out of like normal time, and they're moving at one speed of reality, and reality around them is moving like really, really slow.
Right, right, right. And I don't think I ever experienced that. That's just crazy for me to even think about happening. And I think that's the same thing with people that are not affected with the, Mandela effect. It just sounds ridiculous. And I probably would have been one of those people if heavens didn't change. And I know for a fact, you know what I mean? That was just something that I threw in the air to myself because that's something that I knew. I knew for a fact. And then it changed. And I'm just like, wow, like you said, maybe I have power over controlling it, but yeah, I don't even know what's going on for real. Like,
I was going to say, do you think that it is just a random change, just like so many different parts of the Bible have changed, and so many logos and so many things like around us have changed? Or do you think it has something to do with the sky itself changed? Because sometimes heavens and sky is interchangeable. Like the sky itself became really low and the clouds really low down. Like it lost all of its kind of dynamic and dimension. It just became very flat, almost like a flat screen television above us and really close to the earth. Do you think it could be anything to do with, instead of heavens, there's like a false sky on top of us, like a heaven that's not real? Or do you think it's just like all kinds of things are changing from plural to singular or singular to plural because that's just the Mandela effect?
I'm not exactly sure. I heard you speak about that before, about the clouds looking, about the sky looking more lower. Um, I just, maybe it has been that way for me, but I don't really recognize it as being like that. And as far as it being flat, you know, um, I don't see much cloud. I haven't seen much clouds lately where I'm at, but I have seen them. Um, and it seems like there is something going on, with the sky, but I'm not exactly sure with the moon or something up there, the stars or something. I just feel that there's something different, but I don't really recognize it, visually.
I feel that way too,
And
and I don't know if it's like the
mhm,
simulation is breaking down so we don't see what we used to think we were seeing. And like
okay.
maybe it always looked this way, but we were seeing something different because the simulation was at the top of its game, and we were, it was affecting what we thought we were seeing. Or if things are just really weird looking now because the stars look too low down, and the constellations are, every time I leave the house I see the constellation of Orion no matter what I do. And
Hmm.
this, I don't know, just like you were saying, it just looks weird, and I don't know if that's biblical or something to do with the simulation, or if it's totally random and crazy.
Yeah, now that you say something about that, the sky looking lower, you reminded me when I was saying about the moon, it does look closer for some reason. It's like I could see more detail or something like that.
Yes, the moon is, I've been watching the moon for a while. The same, it seems to be way too close to us, and people can zoom in on it with their, if they have like a good camera, and see the craters like really,
Hmm.
really defined. And I'm
Hmm.
just like, that's weird. It should be way further away and way harder to see.
Hmm. Hmm. And I never been outside. Well, I'll just put it like this. Um, when I look at the moon and the moon is round, wouldn't it make sense that, I guess it doesn't have to be a logical thing to make sense. Um, okay, I'm rambling a bit. Okay, let me get this right. The moon is round. Does it make sense that the Earth is round too? I mean, because some people say the Earth is flat.
I don't know because to like I had thought before. I definitely looked at videos on both sides of like, is it flat, is it round, what is it? And I found loads of conflict. Like I found evidence for both sides, and then I found evidence for the third option, that it's like a realm or like a simulation, but it doesn't really agree with physical rules at all. you can always find a place where it breaks physical rules. And the same with the moon. Like sometimes it's round, it's like a ball, and sometimes it's a flat disc and you can see clouds behind it, like it's see-through.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
So nothing actually plays by any rules where we could nail down, is it a specific shape? Is it a specific thing? It's like, no, it's all crazy. Like when you try and gather up the information, there's always stuff that doesn't fit.
Right. Right. And I guess that makes sense to the simulation theory. I mean, I could still look up and see the moon in the sky, but it's all, a simulation, and that's why it changes. That makes sense to the simulation theory to me as well.
I just
Does that make sense?
yeah, it does
Yeah.
for sure. I just think like
Okay.
one of the thoughts to me that is like, I suppose, still mind-boggling is, okay, if it's like a screen or a dome or a simulation, whatever it is that's going on in the sky, what's beyond the sky in this reality that we're in now? Because it used to be, for me anyway, the sky went on like forever. You could see stars and stars and stars, going on and on and on, it very clearly at different distances, and now you don't. And I'm just like, okay, there's something beyond what we're seeing right now. And what is it? And if I saw it, would I freak out? Would I be okay? Like, but at the same time, I really want to see it. I really want to know what the truth is of where we are and what the heck is going on.
So have you had a lot of OBE experiences? Like, would it have those? If you have, like, what have they taught you about reality? What do you think about reality? From those.
Well, that's the thing, is like, and it's one of the reasons why I kind of make fun and kind of criticize a little bit about like the dark stuff, because people think like, when you are very openly associated with light, people presume you don't know anything about the dark and you're just, whatever. And I'm just like, no, I saw the dark things first, and they never pretended to be friendly with me. They never pretended like, oh, with other people, it seems like they try to be all friends and they try to turn people that way. With me, I always saw everything ugly and vile straight off. Like, I could see what all of it was. And that was how my OBEs started. Was my mom, when I was, young, decided to move us to this house. And the neighborhood had a cult that had gotten arrested by that time, but it was a satanic cult, and they used to, murder people and mad stuff like that. So there was lots of darkness still around that had never been really cleared up. And it was the local parish priest, Brian, can't remember his name now, Brian something or other from, I'm trying to think of the parish name. I'll get that because I want people to know it was, the guy that told me this and, how this all came about. But anyways, even before talking to the priest, I knew that there was something dark going on. And the way that I started having my out-of-body experiences were these dark things were still wandering around, and they would kick me out of my body, just like against my will. Sometimes when I was wide awake, like standing upright, wide awake. So that's how I knew it was real, because it happened to me when I wasn't looking for it at all, and in a way that's most unusual, because it's supposed to be like, oh, you're just in the light and feeling so good, and you can just drift between different densities of reality. And I'm like, no, for me it was, just like whatever the heck was going on was so just bizarre that my introduction to this whole thing was being shocked into it by having like just dark things around that other people couldn't really see and weren't really aware of, even though it was a heavy manifestation. Like the door handles would go down and the door would open on its own, like that level of manifestation where it could move things, and still people couldn't see the doors opening on front of them and slamming shut on front of them. Like the grown-up people in my house just could not see, no matter what happened. Even if things were falling, even if things were going crazy. I mean, after I left, a hole opened up in the kitchen floor, my mom fell into it, and she still didn't think anything was weird. I was like, girl, at what point are you going to think things are weird? Like the floor, like the cement collapsed, and somehow there was a pocket of air like underneath it. Like whatever happened, it just like she fell into the floor, and I was like, this is not, the usual way things go down. Something is very much trying to give you a sign, and you're very much not willing to listen. But at any rate, I think because I saw all that first, then things were on a different footing. So when it came to things that people might associate with paranormal or the outside of the normal experience, I already knew, okay, there's a world that's very close to ours that's full of things that aren't very nice and are in fact dangerous. So that has to be known, and that has to be, treated with, not with respect, but taken seriously by people that can see these things. And that's why I was at a different footing from like other people, like teenagers I knew that were experimenting with this kind of stuff or doing Ouija boards I would be like, don't mess with that stuff. I've never touched a Ouija board, but I've certainly lived with things that can throw Ouija boards around. So you don't want to mess with this stuff. This stuff is not for fun and games. Like this stuff is real. It's all laughs while you have a body on you. But especially if you're unaffected, one day your body is going to die. And if you've given permission for these things to be able to touch you, you don't want these things touching you when you don't have a body to run to. There's no telling how out of hand that situation could get. Especially if you haven't tapped into your own power, you believe that you're small and weak and powerless. You're just setting yourself up for a terrible situation. If you have to deal with these things, then you have to know that you are powerful and you're full of light, so that they can't mess with you.
What is a Ouija board? Like, what's up with that? Like, how is that even possible that things could work through this device, or it's not even a device, but this, game, I guess you can call it.
I wonder if by playing the game you're giving permission.
Okay.
Because if you give permission, then of course, all kinds of things can happen.
Right.
But it's just, it's just not a good way for people to go around doing things. Like, I know people want to see like extreme spiritual results from things, but I'm like, it's not an instant gratification thing. Like, if you want instant gratification, of course you will veer towards dark, because dark is closer to where we live, so instant manifestation of results will happen. But if you want to actually, be doing what you're supposed to be doing, to climb Jacob's ladder, to climb up towards the side of light, takes years and years and years and years. And when you get there, the manifestations that happen, people that are on a lower vibration can't even see it. So it's not, it's not something that you can just pull a rabbit out of a hat and prove it for the people that can't see anything. The people that can't see anything are going to just go to the Ouija board, because they're like, you have to prove to me that this is happening. And it's like, no, it's not my fault that you can't see anything and that you're blind. That's not my issue. I'm sorry. That's something you have to deal with.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I just can't be around a Ouija board. It's like I could just feel that it's not right. Like if I walk into a room, and I don't even need to know it's even there. I walked into this place one time in this store, and I didn't feel right in a certain particular section of the store, and come to find out there was a Ouija board in there. So I had to get up out of that store, So I was able to feel that it's just not right. I've always wondered, like, and I just haven't really did the research, but I think I came across something about there's a curse on this or something like that, or something, and this is why things are the way they are with the Ouija board. Things work through it. And it's funny because not too long ago, there was commercials for the Ouija board, I believe. I think it was in some stores, and I'm just thinking to myself, why are they selling this to people? And people are playing with it, and if it's,
I have to say, I've seen it marketed for children, and that was like, I literally went up to the person that was running like the games, like it was a kids game store, and I was like, please don't put that out, because that's not a kiddie game. That's not for small children to play with, you know. And they were like, "Oh, okay," and they took the box away and put it in the back, which surprised me. I thought they were just going to tell me to get lost, but yeah,
Hmm.
they were. It was set for ages 7 and up.
That is so crazy. It's like, why is it, what's going on? So I'm thinking like maybe it's like we said earlier, the influences of what we don't want to be influenced by is probably influencing people to make these decisions, to put these things out there like that, and influencing people to even go play with it. And I've heard things in the Mandela effect where I guess CERN is trying to, like, something's trying to come through or something like that. So maybe this is a way for certain energies to come through and to influence us even more. Maybe.
Yeah, it's like just because something is coming through, you know, it's not bad in all cases, but in these particular
Exactly.
cases, it is bad. I don't want people to think that every energy that comes in is evil and, you know, be afraid, because the whole culture of be afraid, be afraid, be afraid makes
Exactly.
everything worse because it feeds on fear.
Yeah.
So we have to but get rid of the fear to actually open up space for all the light and heavenly energy and influence to come in. But I do
Right.
take the CERN stuff seriously. I'm not saying that it's, you know, that good
Hmm.
things are coming in through CERN. I think I've heard this now from a number of people that they are literally trying to bring in something weird from CERN for whatever reason.
Yeah. And that's my whole thing. Like, I don't really lean on the negativity things. I like to lean more on the positive stuff, and to even listen to information about more positive things. And when people go into these dark places, I really don't want to hear it. You know what I mean? But since we're on the topic, it's something I was wondering about. And like you just said about CERN, you heard that they're trying to literally, you know, do what they're, you know, whatever, right? So it's just like, I'm thinking like, well, is this something that's influencing them to do it? Because it's like, why would you do that? And you're, you know, you don't know much about. Maybe they, I don't know. I don't even know what to say, but it's
Yeah,
an
it's
area.
like not a mentally normal thing to want to bring in something weird with a massive big machine.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know, it's just like, why would you want to bring something in that could possibly, you know, mess things up a little bit, you know? But yeah, the more we lean on the positive, I think that the more that energy will, you know, I think that energy is a lot better to lay in than the negative stuff.
For sure, and I think that there's a sense of balance. So when they do something that's insane and really dark for no apparent reason, I feel like it gives us like leeway or permission to bring in even more light to try and balance that out, because they're trying to
Mm,
tip the scales towards, you know, chaos and destruction and who knows what. And it, you know, like you said, why? That's so weird. Why would you even want to do any of that? And they
mhm.
said even the first time they turned the machine on where I was from, because in this world here, they turned the machine on in like 1958. But where I was from, they turned the machine on in CERN the very first time in 2008. And they said, yeah, when we turn it on, it might actually do a reverse atomic explosion that will tear the fabric of reality and destroy the world, maybe even
Right,
the universe. So from the
right.
very get go, they wanted to cause harm to everyone for like no apparent reason.
Hmm.
And I was like, why would governments around the world allow this? Because obviously it's not a smart idea. Why spend all this money on military defense and security and everything if you're just going to let these guys turn on a machine that might ruin everything? You know,
Mm,
why do any of it? Like, none of this makes any sense. And then I think maybe it's simulation, because it couldn't make any sense to spend billions of dollars on national security and then let Switzerland turn on a machine that would destroy all of that in a way that your weapons would be completely ineffective against.
hmm, hmm.
It has to be like some weird simulation thing that was just written into the program so people let it happen, because no government would agree to allow this to happen. It doesn't make any sense.
Hmm. Hmm. You know, I don't know much information about it. I did a little research here and there. I don't know much about them to really talk about them in detail, but yeah, I've always wondered, you know, if that's the case, then why would you even, you know, don't you have families, you know, that type of thing? Don't you have a family? Don't you want to continue to, you know, do you want chaos to just be out here? like that because it's going to affect everybody. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's a simulation. Maybe it's just I can't say everybody, but why would you want to bring something possibly bad into the environment?
Exactly. And it's like you said, don't they have families and moms and dads and people that they want to keep safe? That's why it's like no people would do that unless, they were, I suppose, top special military people that are trained not to be emotional, but they weren't those type of people. They were just scientists from, some of them were from different parts of Europe and
Hmm.
further afield. They weren't any kind of special elite squad of Marines or something on a mission. They were just a bunch of scientists saying, "Oh, let's turn this on and see what happens," and
Hmm.
saying like, "Oh, there's going to be all kinds of danger." And to me, that's so absurd that if it's not a simulation, then I can't figure out how any of that would have happened.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
Woo, man, it's crazy. It's crazy, and it's crazy trying to talk to people about these types of things. They're just like, you know, and then that's it, or something like that. Like I brought up changes with actors' names. Actually, I asked the person, "What is this actor's name?" Let's say Christopher Reeves, you know, and there
Yeah.
was I would say, "What's Superman's name?" Christopher Reeves, and you know how it goes. And like that's my point. Thank you for telling me that. I appreciate that. I feel like I'm not crazy, but look at it now. And they will look at it and be like, oh, maybe, you know how their reactions are. And that's just really like, you know, it's like somebody that you know that knows this information and they'll just act like it's nothing. I don't know.
It is mind boggling, isn't it? Because you're like, these are such obvious and simple things. And they just, even when they see it, they refuse to see it.
Hmm. Hmm. And it's weird that they're filming, scenes of the Matrix, in the Bay Area right now, which is where I'm at. And my mind has always been on this topic for a long time, as far as knowing what this so-called Matrix is and knowing what's going on around me. And it's kind of weird that they're filming the movie, out this way, the Matrix, the Matrix 4, actually. So have you seen the Matrix, right? The movie.
Oh, yes, I love The Matrix. Yeah,
Oh,
I've
okay.
seen all of them. And I'm looking forward to this next one, too, because they really have some very deep truths and thoughts and just interesting perspectives that they come up with, the directors of the Matrix movies. Because I watched The Matrix and I watched some other things that they've, written and made and uh, put out there. And I'm just like, there's always like crazy, like, just messages you wouldn't expect. Like they had this series they put on Netflix. Oh, I'm trying to think of the name of it right now, but it had some amazing things, messages in it about like the central sun and the two hemispheres of the brain connecting up to be like one, so that we could all
Mm,
feel each other on a much more empath level. Like they just had all these interesting thoughts about where
mm,
reality is headed right now. And I feel like they were
mm-hmm,
just way ahead of the game. Like The Matrix was the perfect thing, the first movie to
mm-hmm,
release. For me, it came out in 1997. For a lot of other
mm-hmm,
people, it came out in 1998 or 1999. But either way, it
mm,
was leading up to Y2K, which was a very weird simulation, like weird point in time, awesome kind of junction point in time. Lots of weird
mm-hmm,
time travelers and John Titor and all kinds of stuff popping off in 2001,
mm-hmm,
2000, that kind of era. And I
mm-hmm,
just think that, the things people were talking about, and even the level at which computers were used back then, they were so ahead of their time with the things that they were talking about and thinking of, that The Matrix, you could watch it today and it's not old fashioned or, you know, old news. It's still right on the money even today.
mm-hmm.
It's not a new movie now. It's 20 something years old.
Exactly, exactly. Well, it's the creator of the Matrix. I forgot her name, but if I looked her up, and she's talking on some really deep stuff, about the nature of reality. So it would make sense that that movie could last a lifetime because it's about the nature of reality, or at least what she says.
Yes. And that's why I'm like,
Hmm.
I hope they put in some like really deep messages, because they bring in a lot of Asian like influence, especially with like the Matrix movies. And in some Asian cultures, the number 4 represents death or afterlife. So they might be talking about simulation, death, afterlife stuff, or it could be some other, total viewpoint or vantage point I can't even guess at right now. But I'm sure
Right.
whatever it is they put forward is probably going to be 20 years ahead of, when everyone else catches up. It's probably going to be just amazingly way out ahead of us. And I love that. I love when there's someone that, is way ahead of me in a topic and I can learn from. That's my favorite.
Oh yeah. I'm pretty sure it's going to be futuristic, like, because when I was near the set, they had this like really nice car. It's like this little green sports car, and on the back it says Tesla. And I never seen a car looking like. I had to mention that because when you see the movie, it might be in the movie. So I seen that car in person, and it looked very futuristic. So I'm pretty sure the movie's going to be ahead of its time.
Oh yes, and I wonder if they're like wanting people to kind of look into Nikola Tesla or Nikola Tesla, depending on which reality you're from, because his technology was like 100 years ahead of its time. He was a genius, and he just wasn't appreciated, and people didn't bother with his inventions, and he died really poor, and he was like really skinny and starving looking, and he didn't get married. He just had a pet pigeon, and when the pigeon died, he died shortly afterwards. And I was like, that guy should have been a billionaire. That guy people should have said, oh my gosh, this is the future right now. Because we could have all kinds of amazing free energy through Tesla technology. But instead, even today, the guy Elon Musk that started up the Tesla car company, he's not using Tesla technology. He's just using battery cars. Oh, it's got a rechargeable battery in it. Oh, jeez, who came up with that? That's amazing new technology there. Blown away, bro. I'm just like, dude, you're soiling Tesla's name with your mediocrity. And come for me, Elon Musk. If you're triggered by what I'm saying, come for me. I think you're full of hot air, dude.
Man, are you serious? He's just using Tesla's name?
He's just using Tesla's name. But I'm like, at least putting the name out there maybe makes people conscious of it, and maybe they'll look into the real Tesla and they'll realize Tesla got screwed over. Everybody went with Edison. Apparently Edison stole his ideas.
Yeah, I heard about
and
that
then
one.
Became massively rich and said something like everything is a business that needs to be profited off. He's just a money guy. And I'm just like, damn, dude, even today I'll see like Edison on some of the hubcaps not hubcaps, sorry, manholes in the sidewalk. Even today, they're like, oh yeah, Edison and his wires. That was some cool stuff, bro. And I was like, that would be cool if Tesla hadn't completely blown him out of the water with the things that he could do. But like, there's a Tesla quote about how the future belongs to him. He's not worried about how badly he's treated in the present, because he knows one day people will look into his patents and his technology will actually be utilized, which would be very, very sweet. Because if you didn't have to have an electricity bill and your car ran, you didn't have to put any gas or anything in it, wouldn't that be amazing?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, they got some of those out now, but you still have to charge the battery up and stuff like you said, the whole battery thing.
That's what I'm saying. If you could charge it off the ether, you didn't have to charge. You didn't have an electricity bill. Like, the whole thing about it was, if you could have this many cool things for free, you wouldn't have to work nearly anywhere as much. And if you didn't have to work, you would have time to think. And if you had time to think, you could free yourself from the simulation. The idea was keep them so busy and so poor that they never have time to look at themselves and realize who they are.
Yeah, keep these celebrities, these known faces in these so-called reality TV shows to keep you interested, and you just focus on basically watching the soaps, But to each his or her own, you know what I mean? But I don't watch TV anymore myself. I haven't watched TV in a long time, but I do keep up with, what's going on here and there, but I don't watch TV. I just can't. I can't do it no more. I can't even be around a person that's watching TV. I can't stand hearing it through hearing the audio coming through the TV. It just bothers me.
Yes, it's like a lot of it is, kind of just drama or just, things that make you feel more unsettled instead of peaceful. And it kind
Mm,
of, what was something that really woke me up about the whole celebrity and, TV. This was before reality TV, but it applies to it. I had this substitute teacher way back in the 90s,
hmm.
and he said, um, if there wasn't, and he was really spiritual, like this guy was woke, so I used to like listening to his stories. People thought he was crazy, but I thought he was onto something. Anyway,
Okay.
he was saying, if all of your love, if the love of millions of people was going onto this one person and there was no energy harvesting going on, he didn't use the word energy harvesting, he used something else, but I can't remember, but same idea.
You're right.
That person would glow. That person would be like a saint because you would be charging that person with all of your love. And he's like, that's not what you see though.
Hmm.
With celebrity people, they don't glow like they're just covered in a blanket of millions of people's love every day.
Mm,
A lot of them are actually very negative, or like they're spewing out negative. It to some celebrities, their aura looks like nobody loves them, or that they're miserable. That love is siphoned off and taken elsewhere
mm,
because it's like your gaze, literally your visual and your heart energy going towards something is enough to charge it up. So if you have a movie star that everybody loves and you have millions of people consciously putting their love that way every single day, that would literally change that person's reality. And you never see that, even though that's what would logically happen if there was
hmm.
nobody interfering with that process.
Mm. Okay. Can you see auras on people? Or
Yeah.
coming from people? Oh, okay. Okay. What does it look like? It's is it like they're like if you're a creative person, you'll glow a certain color? Does it work like that?
It depends. Like if you have a pain or something in your body, it's going to be a different color. And like
Mm-hmm.
people have all kinds of different interpretations as to what the different colors mean.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you're looking at somebody, um, first you'll see like white light is coming out of them, and then you'll see like pastel. It's like a pastel kind of colored lights coming out of them, but it's not like a light bulb. It's almost like a natural light, or if you've ever been in a church with stained glass windows, if there was such thing as pastel colored stained glass windows, it would be that kind of a light. It's like natural light, but it's not natural colors. So there'd be like green, blue, yellow, sometimes orange, but not usually that much. It's usually more green, blue, yellow is what I see on most people.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people have purple, and those tend to be like people that have spiritual ability, but I don't see many of those people around anymore. I used to see them long ago. I'd see a lot more people with that happening, but not, like I said, not so much anymore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, okay. I definitely miss Prince. I definitely miss Prince, Purple, purple.
Yes, Prince and the
Okay.
Purple. I forgot about that. I was like, yeah, there he is.
Yeah,
Prince
yeah.
just, did you ever see on PBS Prince talking about chemtrails? Prince knew something was
Oh
going
yeah.
on, man. Prince was definitely talking about, on public television, was saying, yeah, I know something's going on.
Mm-hmm. Yep, yep. I have a blog dedicated to Prince. I do photo editing and GIF image work. So, you know, giving back to Prince.
There you go. Um, oh,
Yeah.
just it's
Hmm.
for some reason flashed in my mind the picture of Prince where he had, the glasses with the three lenses because one of them is for his third eye. Did you see the thing
Yeah.
about how the third eye has moved from the front of the forehead to the center of the head?
Wait a minute. Okay, wait. This is new to me. Wait a minute. But what you just said, it sounds the same. It moved from the front to the center. Isn't the center the front already? Or what do you mean?
I mean, like it used to be closer to like the front of your head, like where it was inside of the brain, like the actual
Okay.
pineal gland, like the third eye. And they're saying
Yeah.
that it moved further back. And I'm thinking that's weird because for me, like the spine used to be at the back of the skull. And now the spine is in the center. So I'm like, okay, everything's moving towards the center. It's like aligning up, almost like the planets are lining up here or something. I'm like, why would our spiritual components of our physical body be lining up unless we're getting ready to start broadcasting some heavy signals through ourselves, like through the crown, that energy point there? I think something wild is going to happen soon.
Mm. So maybe that's something wild that's going to happen. That I've heard people say that something's coming, something's coming. Maybe it's that right there. Something good coming, not something bad.
Yeah, like maybe, and this is, wild speculation, but I'm just like, maybe there's a really strong clearing signal going to start ringing through people that have like spiritual ability, and that their
Mhm.
bodies are physically preparing for this so that we're able to carry this energy or this signal, because there's so many changes going on with the body.
Mhm.
And sometimes I just think it's random, but when it comes to things like the pineal gland and the spine, which are
Mhm.
hugely spiritual, I'm like,
Mhm.
no, I don't think that's random. I think that's deliberate that they're aligning up.
Okay. Okay. I always thought the spine is to be kind of like in the middle. Well, the spine is in the middle, of course, right? In the middle of the back. So
Oh
wouldn't that
yeah,
be?
yeah. I know what you mean, the center of the back. But what I'm saying is that the where the bottom of the skull and
Mhm.
the top of the spine used to meet was at the back of your neck. Like I could feel it through with my
Oh.
fingers. And now it's in the center of your neck. So
Mm.
the literal, like the root of the skull is in the center bottom of the skull, and that's where it meets the top of the spine, instead of being at
Oh.
the back of your neck.
Got you. Oh man. Yeah, it's the first I've heard about that one and the third eye one. That's crazy. So you think that we might be is things are setting up for transmitting some type of maybe the whole ear ringing thing has something to do with it because that's been happening frequently for me. The whole ear ringing thing. What about you?
Yes. And it's been happening for other groups, as in like the targeted individuals. I see a lot of them saying they're getting wild ear ringing and like vibrating in their head. And I'm seeing like truther people that don't even like see the Mandela effect, and it's like people that talk about angels and stuff, like all kinds of different groups that are awake in their own different ways are
Hmm.
getting a lot of ringing in their ears. So I'm just like, okay, I think anybody that's able to receive this signal is receiving it right now, the ear ringing, and it's something big because in the Mandela effect community, it's we've seen it with like when there's going to be a shift or something crazy is going to happen, everybody gets their ears ringing.
Hmm.
So maybe something is going to happen. So hopefully something good, and that's why so many people have ringing ears right now.
Yeah, because it happened to me last night. It was just like it's like you can almost hear it coming. Like it starts off small sometimes, I guess, if that makes sense, and then it just like screeching. It's like it's like I'm just sitting there like just taking it. Maybe could it be the earth? The earth, because some people say the earth is a consciousness and it changes all the time. And some of the loud booms that people have been hearing is probably from the earth changing. And could it be that these frequencies that people are hearing through their ears is coming from the earth changing, and we're able to, we're aware of it. We can hear it.
Yeah, because there's something certainly going on with the Earth, whether this is a simulation or not. The Earth does have the Schumann resonance, and it does have its own frequencies. And the Schumann resonance goes crazy when there's about to be a reality change. So there
Hmm.
could very well be a connection between that and the ear ringing. Like these are all signals that something crazy is happening. And I just keep saying something crazy is happening because I don't have the language
Hmm.
or the understanding of what it is that makes a reality shift happen. I don't know what is happening, but I observe something is happening over and over. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I couldn't even begin to guess really why this is happening, but it is affecting even the Earth. Yeah, not just us. And I wonder if I wonder if something wild is trying to affect us in a negative way, and the Earth is like clapping back, and that's why there's all these wild like signals going back and forth. Like,
Mm. Hmm. Yeah, that could make sense because sometimes, and I've been trying to figure this out for a long time. It's like sometimes there's distractions. Or I don't even want to put it out there. Let's just say in the past there's been distractions around me when I'm like connecting, and then sometimes there's distraction like a motorcycle will just pass by or something like that, right? So I kind of believe that maybe there is something there, like an opposing force. So that would make sense to me that maybe there's an opposing force, you know, even in that right there.
Yes, and I think that it acts so wildly because it's desperate at this point. Because you're awake and you're putting the pieces together. So the very last ditch effort it can make is to try and throw distraction at you. But you're outside of its hands and its influence now. Like I was speaking on a stream on the other day and saying I think that whatever the opposing force is that was trying to keep us all asleep for whatever reason, it's dropped the ball on a whole bunch of people, the Mandela Effect community and the spiritual community and the truther community. I think all those people are waking up, and it can throw distractions and it can throw nonsense at people, but it can't force them to go back to sleep. We've seen too much now. We're awake too much now. It's lost that battle, in my opinion. In my opinion, it's done. Like, we're going to wake up. We're going to see what's really going on. We're becoming more and more aware. We're seeing more and more. We're understanding more and more. And I don't think there's any way to put us back into the box now.
Right. And that reminds me of the crabs in the barrel type thing. You know, you move forward and somebody's trying to, I think that's part of the same energy, you know, just in my life, you know, speaking particularly, you know, with the Mandela effect, I've already crossed over, you know, you know, figuratively speaking and literally, you know, I've had my experiences. And so it's hard to, for me, even mentally to like go backwards. So there's no stopping me. Like we move forward, we evolve. So now that I'm a lot more conscious spiritually, even of my own abilities as being clairvoyant, um, I never knew exactly what that was that I am. I didn't make up the word. I came across it and I'm like, okay, that's me right there. That's what I've been able to do all this time, and that's the word that I'm using for it, you know. Um, so now I just lost my point, but I lost what I was saying now. Don't you hate when that happens? You know, you're in the zone and you just lose what you were saying.
You know, I think that's a form of, you know, when it tries to mess with your memories or tries to give you double memories and you're not sure which, you know, effect you remember and all this kind of stuff. I wonder if the same kind of thing tries to interfere with your train of thought. Because sometimes, like when you're talking about something, and it happens to me too sometimes, and you're like, I've got a really
Mhm.
good point about reality and, you know, what's really going on. And it's almost like someone hits a cancel button and you're like, damn, I just hit
Mm,
a blank. Where did it go? It's like someone just tried
mm,
to take it right out of my head. Oh dear.
yep, yep. Yeah, well, you know, basically, I'm just saying I have my experiences, so I just kind of like just putting it all together myself, and it's good to like, pig into, the content that's out there about this because I'm able to understand myself a lot better. And there's just different theories out there. I don't take on all the theories, but I know in my own experience, this is real to me.
Oh,
Um,
for sure.
and it's weird. It's just like it's so weird. It's like how can these things even happen? Like every time, like with the whole Donna Summers thing, I know her as I know her as Donna Summers, and then all of a sudden it's not plural. There's no S on the name, and then in my reality, I start seeing billboards for her upcoming tour, and it's just like plastered on the billboard, Donna Summers, and it's kind of like, okay, what's going on here? Is it like reminding me, or is it trying to, like you said, put me back, put me back into sleep? What's going on with that?
That's true, because if you were just only starting to wake up and something changed back, then you might tell yourself, oh, I never saw anything in the first place, and you just go back to sleep. So I think it's like a last ditch effort to confuse you into saying, oh, I just saw that wrong, or I just, you know, somehow got confused. Whereas, like, you're very awake, so it doesn't, no matter how many versions it puts in front of you, you can see
Hmm.
something weird is going on.
Yeah, and that's a whole simulation thing that I'm thinking. Like, how can this be possible that now I'm seeing billboards for exactly that same Mandela effect? Even Costco, I keep seeing trucks with Costco with the T on it, and I know for a fact it didn't have a T. You know what I mean? But with the one I'm really tripping off of is the billboards and the ads in front of me, plastered on the side of buses or at bus stops or on the billboard of the exact same Mandela effect. So I'm thinking, like, how is this even possible? Is it really a simulation? Like, is it trying to like trick everybody, or is it just, or am I in my own personal simulation and it's just trying to keep me asleep and everybody else is, I don't want to say background people because that's not cool because you know I used to didn't know about the Mandela effect or anything like that. So I don't want to call them NPCs or anything like that, but
You
are
could
they
call
as
them linear people, like they're living in linear time. They're just in a
oh
different reality to you, even though they're around you.
well wouldn't that still be kind of like separating them from us, if that makes
Well, the
sense?
thing is like they kind of there's three groups. There's the people that are like linear people, like they can and will wake up, they just haven't yet. And then there's the people who are linear people who are against anyone waking up and will fight you and will get violent and will
Mm,
harass and will leave nasty comments and will attack and even try and get you fired. Like there's distinct groups. We
mm-hmm,
haven't come up with names for the distinct groups, but I mean like if you look at it like the Matrix, there's people that are
mm-hmm,
already out the Matrix. There's people who are about to be out the Matrix. They just haven't reached that moment yet. And then there's people that are like Agent Smith. So you never know exactly
mm-hmm.
who you're dealing with. But yeah, I mean, we want to be cool to people, but at the same time, we want to be real and be like, you're living in a different reality to the person that's never seen a reality change. Because the person that's never seen a reality change is still within that box that reality is solid and cannot be changed. And they believe that with everything that they are. And that helps that be true, is their strong belief. So their own
Right.
power is kind of used to keep them in the box as well.
Yeah. Right. Right. So, do you believe with all this that's going on, is it a possibility that there are people walking around that are not actual people?
Oh, there's weird stuff going on, and I don't even really get into this on my channel, but
Yeah.
I have certainly looked into all manner of weirdness going on, like people that have a very different consciousness than we do, whether it's good or bad. There are people
Mm-hmm.
that are on the extremes. There are people that their eyes shift and change, or their features shift and change. Like they're like coming from a different kind of reality, even though they walk among us, just like we walk among linear people and fourth dimensional
Mm-hmm.
people and 10th dimensional people. Like we're all walking around in the same place, living very, very different realities. But I'm like, yeah, that stuff is real. Even though people have said to me, oh, it's not real, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I've studied it, online, obviously at first, and then seen enough weird things in real life to be like, okay, there's all kinds of things out there that I don't understand. And it could
Mm-hmm.
be interdimensional, it could be spaceships, like I don't even know. I just know that things are not the way I was told they were.
Right. 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 And the only information that I was told things were was pretty much from Bible. I've had religious people in my life. I'm not religious myself, and just here and there, people, hey, this is survival mode. The quotes that are out there, like, you gotta, basically, the whole thing is you got to be the first one to be first in line. You got to rush and you got to fight people to get to where you need to get to. You got to step on, these things that people have been repeating to me as quotes. Well, you know what they say, tomorrow's not promised, and I'm just like, uh. So it's just like, okay, well, if tomorrow's not promised, then what are you doing right now to make a positive change in your life and other people's life? Instead of just moping around saying, well, I made, even when people say, you can get hit by a bus tomorrow. Well,
Yeah,
tomorrow I could win the lottery. I could win the lottery tomorrow. So
you
why does
could.
it have to be Nick? There you go.
Exactly. Hmm.
And how many people have done that I've heard of? You know, People have won the lottery from what I've heard of. So it could be a positive things that happen rather than getting hit by a bus. Why does it have to be a bus? How come it can't be a child's big wheel and you're not hurt? And maybe you end up you know what I mean? You end up meeting somebody that becomes your wife or your husband out of that, and it's a positive experience for you. You know what I mean?
Because if you believe a positive thing is coming, especially now rather than tomorrow, because if you push it to tomorrow, you're kind of confusing that signal. But if you believe, truly believe, not just in your mind you're trying to make it happen, but from your heart, you truly believe something good is happening, something good will happen, especially for someone on your level of consciousness. But those people that are saying, oh, you could get hit by a bus, they're still in the old frame, the old mind frame, which is consisting of several different things, including fear, and a system that from what I've studied and I've looked around quite a bit, like a lot of these systems were put in place by kings to have control of their peasants and to not have the peasants become too many and overthrow them. And a lot of things that we confuse with morality are just things that kings put down in the past to keep you from, getting out of control. And I mean, I could go into all kinds of different arguments about that, but I want to go into time as well. I've argued with people I had a thought experiment to try and break the idea of time as it's pounded into people in this place. I'm just like, okay, we came up with time because we needed to plant crops. And it was probably the king and his druids that came up with the idea for, we'll call it this and we'll call it that. We'll take the pagan connotations away and we'll call it this, we'll call the months this and this, whatever. So that we can, and obviously the popes were involved, and Gregorian time, everything like that. But the only reason they came up with time was because we became so dense that we needed to eat, so we needed to plant crops. If you didn't need to eat, there's no need for this time malarkey. And I said another thought experiment is, if you go outside of the orbit of Earth, just for a thought experiment, say that space is real, because some people don't believe in space, but just for this thought experiment, if you go out into space, it's not any day there. Unless you're orbiting around the sun, it's not any day there. It's exactly the same time as the moment you were born. There's no days or years or any bullshit like that out there. That's all bullshit we convinced ourselves of down here. It's not real. Like, this is a self-imposed system that is not real. And some of the people who are truly spiritually conscious, they don't even age like people that believe in time. Like, some of them look remarkably young for their age because they don't convince themselves, oh, I'm this age now, I'm looking older. Like, you're manifesting that yourself because you believe in it. And of course, after time, you will become an old person. But you don't have to age like everybody else that's trapped in the linear box, because your own power is part of the reason why you're here. It's a self-perpetuating thing. You know what I mean? I mean, we're not awake and powerful enough to leave this place or to directly affect change like you would see in a Disney movie or something. But there's kind of little sideways influences that we can have over our own experience of existence, because our perception and then how we express what the reality we're experiencing is half of the reality that we're experiencing. We're very much involved in this. We're not just like a passenger on a seat somewhere being driven around.
Right. And that's a good segue, because as far as the passenger in the seat driving around, you know about the higher self, right? Okay, so I'm new to a lot of stuff, and this is one of the things I'm new to. But I've had experiences where I realize I have this being, being, inside of me that what people call the higher self. And so, in the sense of being inside of a seat in a car, it's like we are inside of a car, which is our body. But then we have another part of us that's inside of us that could exist inside of us and outside of us at the same time. And that's the part that we call the higher self. So I would tell anyone to tap into that, because it's always there for you, and it's always connected to what we call source. Some people don't believe in God, so this is called source. It's always connected to source. It always hears what you want, your prayers, your needs. It knows you. And I feel that it can travel into what we call the future, or into other realities. it just doesn't exist within you, but it exists with you, inside of you as well. So
And I
that's my
think
information on the higher self.
for the people who
Mm-hmm.
do want like a Christian context for it, I'm like, consider that when you pass away and you're more in your angelic form, you're outside of time and you can literally help yourself throughout your life from the part of you that's already in a more angelic form outside of time. Like you can go back and help yourself because your life is not linear, especially if you're one of us. So it doesn't have to be like a new age thing, like because some people are really triggered about that, and I'm like, no, this is not something that we should complicate and make dramatic with all of the earth concepts and earth language that literally exists just to make us all argue with each other. These
Mm-hmm.
concepts are beyond words, they're just true, they're just truth. And
Mm-hmm.
you feel your higher self, and hopefully you feel like the guidance and the goodness and the light that it's bringing to your life. And I feel like my one is that big consciousness, like I talked about earlier, that is running all the avatars in all the timelines. And when I
Mm.
connect to that, I'm running at a much, much faster speed because that
Mm-hmm.
consciousness is more than capable of running all those lives at the same time and all kinds of other things. And
Mm-hmm.
it's more connected in with truth and with what reality is outside of this simulation.
Right, right. And you just reminded me of an example of an experience that I had as far as the higher self. Um, hold on 1 second. Yeah. And I forgot that as well. It just left me. Um, but there was an experience I did want to mention, and I
Yeah.
just lost track of my thought. I just lost track of my thought. But I
Oh,
do believe that the higher self is real. I had an out of body experience. I'll just tell you about that. To where um you know, there was someone else in the room basically, and I realized that was another version of me, and
mhm.
it was totally independent of what I was doing. But then I realized that it was another version of me, and that's how I knew that I had this being that's referred to as a higher self that exists within me. So that's my experience on the higher self. So it's real to me. I don't know about anybody else, but that's my experience.
It reminds me of like experiences that I've been having that are not like not good or bad, but like I think that time is like folding over on me, or I'm running across different timelines because sometimes in your peripheral vision, sometimes you see weird things.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Sometimes I'll be walking through my house and I will see myself for a split second in the kitchen, like making a sandwich, or I'll see myself sitting over on the sofa doing something, like with my headphones on, and then in a split second it just disappears. And I'm just like,
Nah, that is.
I'm running across different timelines of my own self. Like, and it used to happen to me when I was really small, and
Mm-hmm.
instead of having like pretend friends, I would say there's other me's around. There's lots of
Mm-hmm.
me, and we're all slightly different. We have different personalities and stuff. And people would just be like, "What? What are you talking about?" And then that went away. And now that this reawakening is happening since the Mandela effect, I'm like, there are other versions, there are other timelines or other fractalizations of me in this.
Mm. That is crazy. That's crazy. That's just like when that guy told me, like, he had a conversation with me, and I'm like, I don't know you. He was like, no, no, it was you. It was you. And I'm like, I never met you before. And I was like, well, what did we talk about? And he said, well, we talked about life. And I'm like, oh. But at that time, I didn't know anything about any of this stuff. I mean, the Emmy effect wasn't even out at the time.
Hmm.
I didn't know anything about OBEs or whatever like that. Um. So, but now I'm thinking about it. It's like, okay, because I had telepathy with somebody, and I didn't even know that this was even possible. But I had a conversation with somebody through telepathy, and we had a conversation about life. You know, they don't remember it because we were both. It was my spouse at the time.
Yeah.
And We were both laying there, and we just happened to be face to face. I became aware that we were conversating in our mind, and she was just asking me questions about life, and I was just talking to her, and you know, and then I snapped out of it and woke up. I told her about it. She don't remember it, but I remember the conversation. It was telepathy. So
It's weird how far the bar has moved because when you were talking about like clairvoyant is the word they use for it, and even telepathy. Like I've heard people talk about how telepathy was normal, and then people lost their abilities more and more, and it had to become like physical speech, and that became a lower vibration uh,
yeah.
thing than telepathy. I'm like, I think that when we say like clairvoyant and everything, and we think we're different than everyone else. I've really moved the bar in my head and said, no, we are the normal, and the people that are not functioning at this level, something terrible has happened to them where they're cut off from their higher self. They're cut off from really hearing heaven anymore if they ever could. And
Hmm.
something's gone wrong, and hopefully that connection reestablishes, and then they the energy ports in them start to open up and clear out all that musty old energy, and they get to actually reconnect and be themselves again. But I think part of the problem is like a lot of people are just cut off from themselves, from heaven, from reality, from everything, and because they're enclosed in their own little bubbles and they're watching all this reality TV, which is like a contrived fake reality, or sports is kind of a reality TV in its own way, for people that aren't interested in drama, they want to watch sports drama, whatever your flavor is, they have all the options there. It's really bad to see people pulled away, but they aren't the normal. And when we tell ourselves those people are normal and we're different, that's actually false too. We are what people were doing, and people were far more advanced than us actually at one point in time,
Hmm.
and that was normal. And these people that are cut off from source, they're not normal, and they shouldn't be called like, oh, that's the normal state for the human being, because it's
Hmm.
not. It's so far left field. The people that can hear heaven, and they're surrounded by people that are cut off, those
Hmm.
people are sometimes scapegoated and medicated to stop them hearing heaven, or having spiritual feelings or understandings or anything like that, because it's so misunderstood by the general population. And I'm just like, gosh damn, that is so terrible. That there's nothing wrong with the person that has a spiritual consciousness, but
Hmm.
there's like a figure that shocked me, is like, I think it's, what is it, 20 or 30% of the population have no inner voice, have no inner dialogue whatsoever.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Because I've come across a lot of people that would repeat stuff that they've heard on TV, and I'm just like, this is not even you. Like, oh, you're telling me something, but you're repeating something you heard on TV. Maybe it's a quote, or maybe it's the way that somebody talks, or I know it's not you. I know where you got it from. So it's like, yeah, you have to tap. You have to what did I think Buddha said that, but a lot of I think even Jesus said that, get to know that person within yourself. That's not the actual quote, but that's what we have to do. And that person within ourselves is a spiritual part of us that they're talking about. Get in
Yeah,
contact with
like
that light within.
no,
I'm sorry about that. Yeah, go ahead.
no,
I'm sorry.
sorry, I interrupted you. I didn't mean to. I was just saying sorry for interrupting you.
No, 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 it's all good. I feel like I'm kind of rambling a bit because something's going on in my environment. I'm trying to pay attention to at the same time. So sorry about that. Let me see. Yeah, we good. All right. Yeah, just get in contact with that light within. And
Absolutely.
like you said, man, when you get caught up in the rigorous survival mode, you have to get out of that survival mode. And that's what I had to do. And I was in survival mode. I was on the other side. I'm telling you, I was one of those people. But my aim was always love and understanding more about the God that I'm supposed to believe in. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so if there's this being that we call God, then you're telling me that it's an actual being called God that cares about us, is about love. So I'm not just going to just keep that as a sideline and just be like, okay, just carry that with me. But I want to get to know what that is. So my aim has always been in that direction. And now here I am. I feel like I've died more than a few times. There was a few times in my life where I know I was supposed to get hit by. I almost got hit by a car basically last year, and I felt that my higher self saved me from that because I heard a voice in my head say, "I'm not going to cross the street right now," and my body just automatically stopped. Now, if I kept going, that car would have hit me. But I had the right of way to cross the street as well, so the car ran the light. And I know all over the place a bit, but my bottom line is once you tap into that inner light, it could save you. But at the same time, it goes into the Mandela effect, right? So I'm thinking like, um, a lot of people are saying things like they feel that they've died before and that now they're here. So I'm
Yes.
thinking like, am I one of those people? Because I've had a few close calls, like I was saying recently with the car. I almost got hit by a car. So am I actually dead? I don't know what's going on.
I think that that's one of the weird things about this is the question of did we die or did some of us die, or are we not able to die at all because people have been hit by cars. People have like come, and contacted me and told me they've been stabbed, they've been drowned, they've been like murdered. They know they have been. They've had illnesses and they felt themselves, fail and die, or they've had cancer, they've had all, and they're still here. And I'm just like, okay, I think the people, and this is wild conjecture, very wild conjecture,
Mm-hmm.
people that have the ability to, for whatever reason we're needed at this time in this place, right now, we're not allowed to die. Even if you die on this timeline, you're just going to wake up on a similar timeline. You'll see that the map has changed a little bit. The world map will be different, or the Bible will be different. Something's going to be different, but you're still going to be in an Earth type density of existence.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I think it's that we're going to be hit with some wild signal. That might not be what's going to happen. Whatever the plan is, people like us are just not dying right now. Even if death comes upon us, it has no particular effect. And I mean, that is in the Bible,
Mm-hmm.
that the people that want to live will die, and the people that want to die, like they want to go to heaven, it's not
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, they're suicidal, they want to die. The people that know God and know how cool it is over there in the astral realms and heaven and everything, they're like, oh my gosh, I want to go there. They're not allowed to leave. They have to stay here. So it's this weird thing of nobody gets what they want in this point in time. The people that want to go have to stay. The people that want to stay have to go. It's really weird.
Oh yeah. Yeah. When I said am I dead? I didn't mean it as like that. And I meant it like you said. Maybe something did happen, but I'm in a different reality or something like that. Or maybe nothing actually happened. Maybe that was just a close call. But still, I'm here, and then I'm realizing people are having the same experiences, saying that, oh, I feel I should have been dead on the operating room table or something like that. I'm hearing all these different experiences about regarding that they could have been they think they died.
Yes, and the other part of the equation is witnesses to the experiences. I have definitely heard of people saying to Mandela affected people, oh, I remember you dying, or I thought I heard you died. What are you doing here? Like, that has happened. So I'm like, okay, I think that you can't leave this density of reality right now for whatever reason, but the timeline split. Like, when death happens to you, it's like Schrodinger's cat, like the box experiment. In one timeline, you survive no matter what, and in the other timeline, you die, and other people remember that you die. It's like time splits in two at that point. And that's how they're able, or they, whoever, whatever is going on, is able to keep us here instead of us going off to heaven. We have to stay here for the moment. So they just keep splitting time every time we die. And people literally will say, like, I heard you died, I thought you died. Or even more extreme, some people say, I went to your funeral, you were definitely dead, and now here you are. What's going on?
So you heard stories like that?
Yes, I've heard stories where people were dead and buried, attended funerals, and did not stay dead. Like, the reality just changed, and there they are alive.
Yeah, I heard somebody say something like that. It was a lady. She said something about somebody passed away, went to the funeral, and then they were alive again. And then that's all that I remember about that. And that is really weird. That's strange. And that reminds me of the celebrities. Um,
Yes.
because I remember a few that are alive, and I'm just like, what's going on here? You know. Um, it's a comedian that I'm trying to think about. I think it's Chris Farley. Chris Farley, I think, passed away, if I'm correct. But yeah, a few celebrities. So I'm like, what's going on? Even their name changes. Name changes of celebrities and the movies and stuff. I'm like, I don't
Yes.
know.
I've even heard people say that different actors have played different roles in movies. Like they would come back and watch the movie
Mm,
again and there'd be a different actor playing like a person in the movie and they're like, oh Lord, what happened? And what I'm
what?
finding super weird now when I watch movies, like I went and I watched Indiana Jones. It was like 2 nights ago and I had not watched it. It was The Lost Ark, Raiders of the Lost Ark. I had
Hmm.
not watched that since I was in my old reality. And in my
Hmm.
old reality, the movie was much longer. The scenes had a lot more breathing room. It was, and in this version here, it's so rushed, it's so quick that it almost doesn't make any sense. It's almost like watching a different movie. And I noticed that with Edward Scissorhands too, because there was this scene in it that people used to make fun of because it was the Avon lady that would sell makeup at doors, and she was putting makeup on Edward Scissorhands, and it used to be a really slow scene where she's trying to figure out what to do to cover up his
Hmm.
scars, and now
Hmm.
it's so quick. I thought it was literally sped up. Like the
Mm,
scene takes like half the time, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, the movies are getting shorter and shorter, and the scenes are rushed. They're super duper duper quick to the point where the movie's not really enjoyable to watch anymore.
mm. Because if she's putting makeup on him, that would take a little bit of time. It won't be so quick. And
Yeah,
so
it
you
used
know,
to be.
hmm
Sorry.
no, 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 no. Go ahead. No, I was about to say, so for sure that scene took a little bit more time to play out.
Yes, I remember her like putting makeup on him, and then she would stop and step back and look and go and she would like look at her different products, and then she would try something else. Like she was not rushing; she was doing it like the way you would do it. And now it's just like sped up. She's like dabbing his face, like almost hitting his face with the sponge because it's going so fast. And then she just puts
And,
another thing on him and another thing on him, and then goes, "Oh no, that doesn't look right," and like the scene is over.
whoa, we should think about that Back to the Future beginning part, because Back to the Future is one of my favorite movies. So the beginning part when he's playing that guitar. Now, do you remember him having a bigger guitar? I think it was like a red guitar.
Yes, I do. I saw so many changes in Back to the Future. It was my favorite movie. I had it on VHS. I watched it so much. And that was one weird change because he had a Les Paul guitar and now he's got a white Flying V guitar. It's a way smaller guitar. Unless it's changed
Yeah,
again and he's got a different guitar since then. But I was just like,
yeah,
why is he playing a different guitar? Is this a different version of the movie? Like they shot it different. Like what's happening here?
yeah.
Everything has changed. Like his hair is longer sometimes
Mm.
his hair is way shorter, his like jackets and stuff change, they change color. Like there's just all these weird things that don't make any sense that keep changing over and over in that movie.
And I'm thinking because it is Back to the Future dealing with. So that's why I think some people will say that the Mandela effect has something to do with time travel. I'm not exactly sure about that, but it's weird that there's a lot of changes in the movie Back to the Future. You know what I mean?
Yes, and it was like they were saying that there was a weird coded thing about time travel in Back to the Future where it predicted everything but 1 year off. So they predicted the Cubs winning the World Series for the first time in years and years and years, but 1 year off. Because
Mm.
I believe it was the 2015 Sports Almanac that Marty bought, and he saw the Cubs win, and he went to put money, bet on it and make money.
Hmm.
But I believe in our reality they won in 2016, and then they
Hmm.
also predicted, that Trump would be president because
Mm.
they based the character Biff off of Donald Trump at that time in
Hmm.
that movie. That's why he's blonde. Like they
Mm.
were making fun of because back then Donald Trump was he was known as a big business guy, but he also had that thing with the casinos where he needed to be bailed out. So people were like poking fun at him. So they were poking fun at Donald Trump, but at the same time, they did all these weird predictions. and said it was for the year 2015, but it was actually all for the year 2016, and they all came true. And those movies are from like 1984, 1985, and then 1981, I believe, is when they all were released. The part 1, 2, and 3. So
Well, you
yeah,
got the
weird stuff.
oh, that's cool. You got the dates down. I like that. That's one of my favorite movies. You got the dates down. I've seen all three. But when the part where you say Donald Trump needed to be bailed out of the casinos type, well, I'm not familiar with that.
He was building these big Trump casinos, and for some reason they didn't make as much money as predicted, and he had to
Hmm.
go and get like bailed out of that situation. Like he, as far as my understanding is, and this may have changed, and I may be wrong. You know, there are people that know the life of Trump like way more than I do, but as far as I know, he had a bunch of his colleagues bail him out of that situation because the casinos ended up not being profitable. But he had a bunch of situations because people think that Trump has got something to do with time travel because his uncle, I believe, or was it his granduncle, was involved with Nikola Tesla and had access to his papers and his technology. And then there's the Last President book, 1900, that talked about Trump. And then there's the Baron Trump time traveling book from before Baron Trump was ever even born. And it's got like drawings of Baron Trump. Like, it's just so weird. But all of this time travel talk might be to let us know this is a simulation. And that it was all planned in advance. Like, these certain sets of events were always going to happen. The Twin Towers was always going to happen. Like, there were certain things that are just kind of unavoidable. And while there are variances, the main stream of time has a story that's already written.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Give me 1 second. Yeah, it's weird because are you still able to hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay,
Hello?
because I pulled up this. Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. Hold on, let me close this right quick. Let me see. Okay. I was trying to pull up something here, and I did, so I can have a better reference. It's about Back to the Future. I want to give credit to somebody. It's called the Mandela Effect Researchers. So I pulled up the video that I just seen last night, and it's regarding Back to the Future change that I agree with. Now, do you remember the beginning part where I think it's at the beginning? I'm not sure, but it's when he was at the I think he was going to that parlor. Michael J. Fox, the character, he was outside and they played that song "Mr. Sandman" from that store.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, don't you remember when those ladies singing "Is Mr. Sandman"? You know, they're women, right? Singing
Yes.
the song, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I just watched the video last night. This lady, the Mandela Effect researcher, she brought it up. So I want to mention that right now, it turns out that it's men singing that song.
Oh, I really like the ladies' version. Not that the men wouldn't be great too, but like their voices were nice and sweet. You know, it was good.
Yeah. Yep. That Mr. Sandman. You know that tone. It was fun.
Yeah.
There you go.
I love that.
Yeah, there you go. You know what I mean? I have your singing contract right here, so I'm gonna send it to you so you can sign it, and then I'll put you on my record label tomorrow. How's that?
There you go. You make some music. We can be like, this is what the original Back to the Future Mr. Sandman said. People like, I want that record.
Yeah. We're gonna make a mixtape of Mandela Effect music. How about that?
There you go. I was like, somebody needs to recreate the scene with Tom Cruise, you know, with the sunglasses and the white shirt, because that is a freaking, I love that old time rock and roll, like that movie. I was like, why did they change that so much? They changed it to just like a pink shirt and no like Ray-Ban sunglasses, so it's not even cool. Like that with the Mandela effect, not through like any company or anything.
Exactly. And you know, I'm familiar with that, but I'm not like that's a solid effect. I never watched the movie, but I have seen that clip, and I'm like, I remember him having sunglasses on, you know, sliding into the room like that, and now he doesn't have sunglasses on.
I know, and it's just,
Oh,
I don't know, I find it just so weird.
but that Mr. Sandman one, and this one of my favorite movies, it was women singing that song. You know that the person that put that video out is right. At least in my reality, it was women. So now it's men. You know, so
That's
check that out when you get a chance.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sad about that. I forgot to say the name of the movie, Risky Business, 1983. So I just started talking about Tom Cruise and didn't like even say what I was talking about.
Okay.
So I'm looking at the image search right now, and there's like pictures of him with his mouth open with the sunglasses on. But
Yeah.
the famous scene, he's just got a pink shirt and no sunglasses on. It makes no sense because all of the like movie posters and advertisement for this movie, he's wearing sunglasses.
Okay. Let me look.
I even see
Uh,
one guy doing an impression of it, like he's not Tom Cruise. He's like, and he's wearing a white shirt and sunglasses, and it says "risky business."
okay.
So
All
there are
right.
people like doing copies of this that are not like they remember the original way. They don't know that the movie has changed.
Yeah. So are you saying that he had a pink shirt on or a white one? Because I'm hearing both.
So the original that like is that he had a white shirt on and
Right.
sunglasses, and he's like
Right.
standing in front of like the stairs, like in the hallway of his house, and he starts, or a hallway of the house rather, and he starts singing,
Mm-hmm.
along to the "I Love the Old Time Rock and Roll"
Mm-hmm.
track, and now he just is like in a pink shirt with no sunglasses, and he's like holding a candlestick that he's singing into, and it
Yes.
just doesn't look anywhere near as cool.
That's a candlestick. Oh yeah. I couldn't tell what that was. I'm online myself looking, and now it's really hitting me. He has a pink shirt on and no sunglasses.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah, no
Oh,
sunglasses and a pink shirt on. So he just looks dumb because he's got the white socks, no pants, a pink shirt, and no sunglasses.
man, what's going to happen next? He's probably going to slide into the room naked or something like that. Or I
I
hope not.
guess
But
so. You see
uh,
all the other pictures that have to do with risky business. He's got the sunglasses on. Every other picture
yeah, I see
from the
that.
movie, like he seems to have the sunglasses on, except for like the ones where he's like talking to people, like the one with the blue shirt. But like even the front, I can see this Wikipedia picture of the VHS, the front of the video for Risky Business. He's got the sunglasses on.
Yeah, because he has them down. I'm looking at the same pictures.
Yeah, he's looking over the
Yeah,
glasses like they're on his nose.
right. Yeah, that doesn't make sense. The sunglasses are known for that particular scene in the movie, right? So how come he doesn't have them on, but he has them on in all this other stuff?
Sometimes I think that this stuff is to make fun of us, to be honest, because like they change things that whoever they is, things
Yeah.
change that people like almost worship. And I'm not saying that people worship Tom Cruise, but I'm saying like this movie scene was iconic, and people were like, "This is so cool," and they've done 100, skits about it on TV and references to it everywhere. And nobody's realized it's changed. And I was even thinking yesterday about the dollar, the sign for the dollar,
Hmm.
the reality that I was from. It has like the S and it had two lines through it. And you
Hmm.
know how much people worship money and everything. Like people can't even see that it's an S with one line through it.
Wait a minute. Okay.
A
Okay.
symbol for the dollar. And like, when they change like football teams and things like that, when people like worship football teams and they can't see like the name has changed or the numbers have changed, or something very obvious has changed. And I'm like, is somebody just poking fun? Because it's like whatever you have huge investment in that you think is really cool or you
Yeah.
think is so important, when you can't see that it's changed, it makes you look like you're an idiot. It's
Mm.
like you pour so much life force into something and you have no idea what you're looking at because you can't see that it's drastically changed, then you look like
Hmm.
you have no idea what you're doing. You look like you're blind. And I'm like, is somebody just laughing at us? Like, as a human race, like, is whoever that's running the simulation is having a laugh and being like, you idiots can't even see what I'm changing. The things you stare at every day, like the American flag, you can't even see that that's changed. Swearing all kinds of
Right.
allegiances and, doing all kinds of salutes, and they can't see that the red stripe that used to be under the box with the stars has moved, and
Right.
now it's a white stripe under the box with the stars. So I'm like, that
Right.
sounds like you're mocking people, whoever the consciousness is behind the change, behind the changes.
Right. Right. Or maybe, yeah, maybe, hmm, maybe it's just like with the people that don't see the Mandela effect. It's kind of like some people are saying that it's, what are they, idiots? You know, some people are getting, really personal with other people that can't see, are calling them NPCs and things, things like that. And I know that people are trying to put, a label so we'll know what we're talking about. But it's kind of like we're poking fun at them for not seeing it, in a sense, for not seeing the changes.
But
So it's kind of
I
the same
think that
thing.
when people do that, though, they're responding to the weird reaction people have. It's not that you're laughing. It's not that you're pointing out somebody because they can't see the change. It's because when you point out the change, they go full weirdo. They're just like,
Hmm.
no, I don't want to see it. I can't see it. Or
Yeah.
we're not talking about that. Let's go and make money. You need to make money. Like the way they respond is why
Right.
they're seen as weird. Not that they can't see it yet. Because a lot of things you don't, people point out to each other and then you see it. But it's what is your response after that? That's the
Right.
moment, like I talked about in a previous stream, when somebody points out a reality change to you. That's the moment when Morpheus is holding the red pill or the blue pill. That's
Hmm.
when you decide, are you taking the red pill and you're actually looking at it and saying reality has changed, what's going on here, and
Hmm.
you go after it, or you take the blue pill and you go back to bed and you just sleep and you just don't care what it is. And you, as soon as you make that decision, you have taken on responsibility. You have
Hmm.
said whether or not you're open to this frequency of people seeing more about the world around them, or if you're not. And that has an effect, you know? People
Right.
say,
Right.
like,
Right.
oh, I want things to happen when I'm ready for them. And I'm like, that's not how life is at all. Like, lots of people aren't ready for puberty. It happens to them anyway. Too bad. Things don't
Hmm.
run as we want them to run. Things happen when they happen. You either
Hmm.
catch that train or you don't. So I think that's where people's responsibility lies, is not in are they good at finding Mandela effects, but when it's pointed out, how do they respond?
Right. And allow me to rephrase that. I didn't mean it that way. I meant it in the way that in the way that you mean it. But what I actually meant was, when you bring it up to them, and then they say, when you bring it up to them and then they say they agree with you, and then you show them the proof, or they look for the proof and it's different, and then they change up on you. So it's kind of like, in a sense, some people are saying that they're NPCs or whatever like that. I guess I'm making sense. um but yeah, because there's changes that I'm not familiar with myself. Like the geography changes, I'm not big on geography, so I'm not familiarized with that just yet.
Yeah.
But my mind is open to what people are saying about it. Because it makes sense to me that if I'm going through these other changes, then it will make sense that, what I mean, these other changes with the map, with the land is happening, is probably happening as well. I'm just not familiarized with it, so I don't see it basically. But it doesn't make me a NPC or anything like that. But like you said, if you have your mind open to it and you're ready to go there, and you're actually doing that, then you may see it one day. You know.
Oh, for sure. I'm just
Hmm.
like I don't want to appear like hostile to people. It's just like I want people to realize which group they're in. Are they in the group that's kind of neutral, that's in linear time? Are they in the group that's open to the new frequency and they want the truth, they want to know what's going on? Or are they in that group that's obstructive, that doesn't want anyone to know the truth and wants everyone to go back to sleep? Because that's the group that I'm hostile towards, because they're hostile to me, like the Agent Smith type of people that go, it's
Hmm.
not real, and because I can't see it, no one can see it, and I'm going to throw a tantrum in your comment section. I'm going to have a meltdown.
Mm.
Stop having a
Mm.
meltdown. Not We all see different things at different times. That's why I say with
Mm.
the truth community, we all are awake in our own ways. We're seeing different pieces of the puzzle. Nobody sees the
Right.
entire thing. We're all learning and waking up bit by bit by bit. But we
Hmm.
shouldn't tolerate people that are saying, no, you're not allowed to learn because I'm not comfortable with it. because that's purely fear. That's people coming from fear and saying,
Hmm.
I'm afraid of it, so therefore nobody is allowed to explore it. And it's like, no, you don't have that jurisdiction. You can't tell other people what they can do and not do because you're afraid.
Hmm.
I've come across so many people like that. And I've even had people who panic so much that they're like, oh, everything is black magic and we're in hell. And I'm just, they're losing their minds. They're having a meltdown in the comment section. And I'm like, what kind of reality are you feeding with those kind of thoughts and that level of fear? There are evil things around, but are you seriously telling me that the only thing you see is evil? Because that's a very bad place to be in life.
Hmm.
That's not it's not good. I'm trying to combat like that kind of
Hmm.
frame of mind because I feel like it doesn't help anybody on any side.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's a hard place to be in. I've been in certain places myself where I was like super depressed, and I looked at the world as it's me against the world. So when you're in that place, like you said, that vibration, um, you know, you you may be creating things and not even realizing it, and putting the bars on your prison and not even realizing it by your thoughts of thinking that it's all bad. So, like you said, you just have to have an open mind to like, cross over to the other side, so to speak, and be in the light. But some people are not like being taught that, or they're not seeking that information, and some people just doesn't even know it exists. Like I asked this one person a long time ago that I was working with. It was female, and a young female. I asked her. I said, "Do you know that you're inside of your body?" And I forgot why I brought that up, but that was a question I ended up asking, and she was just like, "What? I don't know." Like she didn't know what I was talking about. So hopefully, by me saying that, she's able to gain more validity towards that particular direction, and be able to who knows, maybe she's a Mandela affected person right now, because that one moment where I say, hey, you're not your body, you're inside of your body.
Yeah, that like would open up a frame of thought that most people probably haven't even considered yet.
Hmm. Hmm. Because with me, I didn't just come into the awareness of clairvoyancy or Mandela effect just all at the same time. I came in listening to like David Icke, um, Robert Monroe. I was just interested in that type of um, information, and so here I am now with the Mandela effect.
I hear you. I think
Hmm.
that I mean, I have heard of people that weren't looking into anything and then were hit with the Mandela effect. But it's more common that people started to look for truth, like in different places, and then got hit with the Mandela effect. So, it
Hmm.
happens both ways. I think for the people that went from 0 to 100, it was probably a very rough ride.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely, yeah. So yeah, it's a lot of things I still have questions about. I'm not saying that I know the full truth, and I know that sounds cliche, but I just have to say that because just to admit to myself, to verbalize it, that all my experiences are my experiences, and I just could attest to that, and they're all positive to me. I mean, I try to stay away from, like you said, the dark stuff. I was already there, and I just don't want to go back to that. But when things do come up, I just try to handle it the best positive way I can, and not be mad and upset. I don't like to argue with people. I don't argue with. I haven't argued with anybody in a while. My relationships changed. It's just a lot of changes. So it's good to connect. Like I was saying before in the beginning, it's good to connect with somebody that has these similar points that I do. Like I said earlier, I had a spouse. That's one of the relationships that changed. I won't go too much into that, but um, during the end of that relationship, I was continuously telling her about this thing called the Mandela effect, and um, basically just by asking her, what was that restaurant called again? Chuck E. Cheese, right? She goes and tells me Chuck E. Cheese's. And I'm just like, what world am I in now? Because it was Chuck E. Cheese for me. Are you familiar with that Mandela effect?
I am, and I'm just like, oh man, that's something too. Like when you ask someone something that should be obvious, but they actually have the memory of the other timeline, and then it's just a big fail. Like like if you ask somebody like, what about a kidney punch? Like where are the kidneys located? Sometimes
Yeah.
people will say, oh, if you have a pain in your upper back, that's your kidneys because the kidneys are in your upper back. So they have a memory where the kidneys were always in your upper back under your rib cage. So there's no
Mm,
such thing as a kidney punch because you can't punch through the rib cage. So that never happened here.
man, oh man, craziness. Yeah, and that Chuck E. Cheese is right down the street from her, where she used to work at, as well as the Costco. The Costco was just right there, so I always just take her to work, and we went to that Costco a lot of times. It's like the thing that we usually do, as far as Costco. So I'm sitting in that parking lot looking up at the sign, and I'm like, it doesn't make sense to, what it says. I never did the research on what Costco means or whatever, or if it was named after somebody. But I said it would make more sense if there's a T in it because of COST, cost, right? Dealing with money, transactions, store.
Mm-hmm.
It makes more sense. But now that there's a T in it, I'm thinking like it doesn't make sense because from my understanding in advertising, you don't want people to think that they're spending money. Like you have a store called Payless. So if it's anything like that, it's based on discounts or the title of the store. Why would you call a store Costco like it costs to be in there? That's how I'm.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So now it doesn't make sense to me, but it's a reminder that when I do see it now, it's a reminder of, I guess, where I'm at. It's just a reminder of it keeps me from moving backwards. If I was to move backwards into survival mode or whatnot, or into worry, into fear, it just keeps these Mandela effects keep me from moving backwards. If that makes any sense, it aids in that for me anyway, because it reminds me that it wasn't like this before. But at the same time, sorry, there's a dog in the background. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Yeah, that dog, he doesn't usually like it when I talk this deep about Mandela effects. He's just trying to slow me down. It's all good though. But anyway, yeah, it just keeps me to. It reminds me of where I'm at, but at the same time, it's a confusion of like, where am I at? To where things are changing like this. Is it me or is it?
Exactly.
Yeah. How is this even possible? Yeah. So sorry about rambling a bit, but yeah,
No,
that's
I,
my
I think
thoughts on it.
that's a important
Yeah.
point. Is like some people might have gone back to sleep if they didn't keep seeing things changing and changing back, flip flopping back and forth and changing and changing.
Hmm.
You have to keep paying attention, even if you don't fully understand. Like, okay, why is this happening?
Hmm.
But at least the message is getting through that reality is not what we thought it is. Our reality is completely different now than it used to be. And it's almost like you were in a very, very deep sleep and you've just woken up and you have that moment of confusion of like, where are you? What's going on? I feel like that's where we are right now. Is like the Mandela effect is making sure that we're waking up and that we don't go straight back to sleep, but we still have to fight to wake up fully and for the memories to come back of like, oh yeah, this is where I am, this is what I'm doing.
Hmm.
Because we don't have that right now. I think that's where the confusion is coming in. We're getting the wake up call, but we don't really remember
Hmm.
what the whole context of this situation is.
Right, right, right. And if we knew, then what do you think will happen if we just knew the full scope of what is going on?
Um, I mean, there could be all kinds of different routes that would take, but I think if we immediately remembered what was going on and what needs to be done, I think we would be in our full spiritual presence far more than we are now, and that we, especially together, would be able to fix anything that's gone crazy or that's gone wrong or gone off in here. Like we could either shut the simulation down or we could fix it without too much effort.
Okay, okay, okay. Has this ever happened to you where, let's say, for instance, you're thinking of something in your mind that's kind of put you in a state of, chaos a bit, or whatever, right? Like you're thinking of a thought that, like, you may be anxious or something, and it's something in your environment. It's like it reacts to it, and it's like it's all of a sudden there's chaos around you. Has that ever happened to you?
Mostly like when I first started trying to talk to people about Mandela effects, their chaos would erupt around me. Like when I
Yeah,
would try to wake people up, suddenly all the phones would ring, the
yeah.
animals would go crazy, just all kinds of stuff would happen. And like I remember even one time outside of a coffee shop,
Hmm.
I was sitting down like on an outside table and trying to talk to someone about the Mandela effect, and just car alarms were going off, alarms were going
Hmm.
off, doors were like all kinds of noise was happening. And then this family came up and sat at the next table, and the man that was with them started screaming and screaming and screaming, and their cell phones were going off. Like everything
Mm,
was happening to stop that conversation going down.
that's crazy, man. That's crazy. So, do you think it's that, like, so-called imposing force or whatever that may be that's
Yes,
doing that?
whatever it was, like there was a presence of something, I don't know what,
Hmm.
um but I felt like it was really pushing for as much chaos as possible to happen to stop those conversations happening.
That's so crazy. That's so crazy. And how everything happens at once. It's like whoever was calling them had to have dialed that last number for the phone to ring at that very moment to interrupt the conversation.
Yeah, and like just the unlikeliness that all the alarms would go off, and the car
Hmm.
alarms and the phones, and just everything has to go off right now in this moment. Why is that happening? Because if we were talking about something stupid, none of that would happen.
And you know it. And you know it. Was it one car alarm or more than one?
It was one car alarm, and then
Okay.
there was problems with the Chipotle that was right beside us. There was like drama, like someone was slamming the door, like I don't know what kind of drama was going on there. Just
um,
this drama just pops off for no reason, and then like I said, that family came over and started screaming, and their
yeah.
cell phones were going off, and you get to that point of just like I'm trying to continue the conversation, but the other person is not listening at this point because there's so much chaos and noise going on around us that they're watching that. They're not even listening to me anymore.
Okay. Okay. Now, could it be that imposing force, or could it be coming from the person that you're telling this stuff to? Does it make sense? Like maybe
Yeah.
something with. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Like maybe a part of their consciousness is just like, no. And
Yes.
they're letting all chaos, all hell is breaking loose to stop
Yes.
this conversation.
Yeah. Maybe it's unintentional, but there's a part of them that's like no. And then if we influence our environment, could that be a possibility? Is what I'm saying.
I think it could be a possibility. Like if we have more influence over our environment than we realize, then perhaps
Hmm.
other people do as well. But they have chosen, they've said, no, I don't want to hear about this.
Hmm.
And if you get in their bubble and you're going against their free will by saying this to them even though they don't want it, then maybe
Hmm.
that is enough to let all kinds of chaos ensue to stop you.
Right. Right. And so after all of that happened, did you still try to talk to them about it?
I did, but again, it was really difficult. Always something would come up. Like so,
Mm.
their friends would start texting them and texting them and texting them the whole time through the conversation, and they'd just keep checking the phone over and over. And it's like, okay, you're not listening. You're not
Hmm.
taking it in. Like if someone was telling me about this, I would not be checking whatever texts are going. I would be listening.
Right. Right.
Because my consciousness says yes, I want to know about this. Whereas if my consciousness had already decided to say no, I probably would be, checking my text and scratching my butt and yawning and like not listening.
Okay. All right. All right.
But
All right.
like the way people act when you tell them, that's exactly it. They get so docile. It's like they're just relaxing on the sofa. They don't
Yeah.
care. They're not worried. And They may even be yawning. Like, I'm literally giving you the visual of what the other person was doing.
Yes.
Scratching, yawning, texting, not bothered.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, this
Mm-hmm.
is like earth-shattering level revelation of truth, and you're not bothered, and I just don't understand. Like, I don't understand where you're coming from, other person. I just don't know. Like, that's boggling to me because, you know, I see it from my point of view, where this is important and certainly should be looked at.
Right.
Um,
Right.
I guess that's the part that escapes me, is I don't understand what the other people are thinking, that they don't want anything to do with this.
Right. I guess it's probably more so. It's really hard, like, because I was there myself just for a minute, because it's really hard to. I'm pretty sure all of us was there before. You know, like if somebody at the time before we were conscious of this, someone could, let's say someone approached us about it. I think that I would probably react where, okay, it sounds interesting, but there's in the back of my mind is more so that can't happen. So I automatically just throw it over my shoulder and into the dirt behind me. You know what I mean?
Mm. That
But
reminds me of the parable that Jesus said about the seeds need to fall in the right place to actually grow. Remember that
ooh,
one?
ooh, that's nice. I like that. Yeah, I remember it now. Yes, exactly, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Now this strange occurrence that happened to me, you don't mind me sharing it with you real quick? I want to see what you think about it.
Sure.
Okay, back in the days, this is not going to be a long drawn out story, but back in the days when I used to, as you can see, I haven't watched TV in a while, so I'm saying back in the days when I used to watch TV. So when I used to watch TV, during the time when I was starting to like meditate and just um fast from watching TV, I was holding the remote in my hand. Okay, and I was thinking to myself, and the TV was off. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, so I'm holding the remote in my palm, and the controls are at the top. So it's very important for me to say this.
Hmm.
So then I'm thinking to myself that it's very amazing that they made a device that could connect to another device without any wires being connected, and it, you know, it works that way. As soon as I thought that, the TV turned on, and I didn't press any buttons. So I'm sitting there, so I don't move. I don't move at all, and I'm sitting there, and just to see where my hand is at, and the remote is still in my palm, and the controls are at the top. So I didn't touch any controls. So I'm hearing stories about people affecting electrical devices near them, and I'm just wondering, is this one of those times that I did that?
I think it's very possible. I've heard about people, like, because their their spiritual presence has manifested itself so much, their toroidal field, like when they walk past lamps, the
Mm-hmm.
light will flicker. There's
Mm-hmm.
one in particular, Zen Atman, that he's like this wild thinker, like real life Gandalf kind of weird guy, but his
Mm-hmm.
ideas are interesting. And anyway, he has gotten to a point where he's had light bulbs blow up on him.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, wow, what kind of energy are you putting out that the light bulb like explodes?
Exactly. Exactly. That's got to be scary too to go through when you walk past something and it just like does that.
Yeah, that's wild. I'm like, that's, but maybe that's the level we're going at. You know, maybe that's exactly where we're headed right now. It's just step by
Mm-hmm.
step, piece by piece.
Yeah, yeah. I would like to like see that or something, because you know when somebody says stuff that I haven't experienced, it's kind of still kind of hard for me to like not believe it, but I just wasn't there to experience it. You know what I mean? And so it's kind of hard for me to like, place that in my mind, like that really happens. You know what I mean? But with this effect, with me going through all these different things, I have more of an open mind. Like, okay, there's certain things that I haven't been through that. Okay, I have an open mind to their experience. You know what I mean?
I hear you. Like, have you ever had like the light
And
bulbs flicker or like electricity kind of flicker or surge or anything weird like that when you're around?
not that I've noticed. Not that I've noticed.
Because like it just like for all of us, it's like different parts are waking up at the same time. So it's not that like, oh, somebody is better than somebody else. It's literally different parts of what
Yeah.
you are is turning back on. at different times than other people. So, but I've definitely seen and heard, so I know it's true about the light bulbs flickering, and it has happened for me. I haven't had any lamps blow up, thank God. But what I found interesting about that, and why I think it's so much to do with the energy of what we really are, is I've seen ghost shows where, you know, they have all this wild ghost hunting equipment, whatever, and finding these weird pockets of energy that they think is a spirit or they think is something. When it moves past lamps and lights and stuff, they often flicker in this reality. It wasn't like that where I was from originally, but the whole thing about ghosts and out-of-body experiences is actually different here. Like on a sideways tangent, the etheric cord that was between a person's body and their, you know, when they're astral projecting was always from the belly button where I'm from. But in this reality, it's from your third eye. It's from your forehead.
No.
Yes.
Oh man.
Look.
Oh my God.
It's different here. Even their spiritual experiences are different here.
Oh my God. Wait. It's connected to the head, to this third eye area?
It connected to the third eye area. That's where their etheric cords connect.
Okay. What is that cord called? The etheric cord? That's what it's called?
Yeah, like the word ether, but etheric cord.
Oh,
yeah. And that's, you know, it's like the rubber band that, like, when you're astral projecting, it can snap suddenly and you're just suddenly back in your body. Like, you just like fly back in, or even sometimes you'll wake up and you like fall into your body and you literally, there's like a boom and the like mattress will bounce. Like that, it's the etheric cord that makes it so that you go back in. Like, you can only go so far before it snaps back like a rubber band and you go back into the body.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that slamming down experience. I'm definitely familiar with that slamming down. It's like a very hard boom. You know, you're back.
It is. Sorry, I keep interrupting you. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good. You know, I enjoyed talking to you. I mean, it's definitely a pleasure. You're like one of my favorite personalities on YouTube.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry. What was you saying?
I was just saying, I think that's super interesting, like on this level, because for us, obviously, the belly button, that's the very first place that you started. Like, that's where you start growing. That's where you're connected to your mother, right? So that's like the spark of life moment for us. But in this reality, in this world, the etheric cord is coming from the third eye. So that says to me, your spark of life, your beginning of creation is coming from your third eye instead of from your belly button. So you're a different creation altogether here than we were there.
Oh yeah, wow, man. Oh man. I'm actually authentically reacting to this because it's weird because I'm familiar with that because I did research on that. I'm not saying I'm you know what I mean? Like, I've done research on it, but I'm not I don't know all the information. But I'm familiar with the cord connected to the belly button. But now you're saying it's connected to the head. And I'm reading right here online, it says the etheric cords from the third eye chakra to the forehead to the heart chakra, the chest. What does that mean? Even though most people don't see it. But it says etheric cords from the third eye chakra. Maybe I typed in something wrong. How do I find it on Google?
I'm just looking right now to see where I can get a good source for this, because they've got. Maybe I should put like astral project if they record.
Are we able to show it on camera or no?
Yeah, as soon as I just find a good source, I'll put her up on camera. Depending on blah blah blah. Okay, I'm looking for a picture or a. Here we go. I've got some yeah. Okay, 1 second. I'm gonna put this up on screen. I've got some pictures of the cord going to the head.
All right.
This is wild. Oh.
Yeah, this is definitely.
Because No, go ahead.
No, it's all good. You go ahead. What were you about to say?
No, I was just going to say I'm shocked is all I was saying. I wasn't saying anything important.
No, no, that's all good.
Damn, the way Google does this now, I can't get the image to come up like big. So give me
Okay,
1 sec. I'm going to save the picture and make it big.
okay.
So yeah, 1 sec. There we go. I've got a couple of pictures here where the cord is going from the person's head to the person's head. So let me get save image.
But why is it going? Why is it going from the person's head to another person's head?
Oh no, it's your own head. Like
Oh, okay,
it's how you're still attached to your body, if you get me.
gotcha.
Some of these pictures are so small. I hope they're good enough like to
show.
make really big. Yeah, but I've got like a bunch of them now, so let's see if we can get this going. Okay. Put this down out of the way. There we go. I've got at least one picture that's actually quite big, so we're going to be able, I'm getting them on screen right now.
Got to see it to believe it. Got to see it to believe it. Yes, yes, yes. About to see it. Man, I can see it in my mind already. It just doesn't look right.
So there's one picture.
Okay.
I have it taking up the whole screen.
Yeah,
So that you can
I see it.
See, there's the cord is going from her third eye to her astral body.
Wow. I think I've seen this picture before, but I didn't really trip. I thought it was just a representation of an out-of-body experience.
And then I have
but it is
another
okay.
one here. That cord is going from his head to his astral body.
Oh, now I'm getting convinced. It changed.
It did change.
Oh, man.
Gosh. I got another one here of a woman. You can see it's clearly going from her third eye to her astral body.
Hey, I should. Oh, that's crazy.
And then I have
okay,
one more that shows, because it mentioned the heart. I've got one here where you can see it's going from his third eye and his heart to his astral body.
Whoa. And that's not even near the belly button.
No, there's no connection to the belly button here.
And it says silver cord. That's what it's called, the silver cord.
Mm-hmm.
No,
I wonder if there's reality residue. I'm just going to look at that page with the image search again. Because before I say there's no trace of that here, what I mean is the new reality is that it goes from your third eye to your astral body. But I'm looking to see if there's any pictures of it going to your belly button, to your astral body before I, No, okay. I see pictures going from the heart. I see pictures going from the head and the heart. I don't see any pictures on this image search anyway of it going to the belly button. Okay.
Silver cord. Higher self. Let's see. Higher self though. Physical body. Wowzers. Belly button. I'm looking at myself also, but I can't find anything. I got a bunch of pictures of belly buttons though, but
belly buttons everywhere.
Yeah. Hey, that's a new hashtag, belly buttons everywhere. I mean, hey, that's for real, right? There's a lot of humans out here, right? No. Let me see here. I like that term you created, linear people. I like that.
I'm like, thank you. I'm like, what's more accurate is they're just living in a different reality, but it doesn't mean they're not living, just that they're, just that we're having a different experience.
Right. I see this picture right here. Um, Now, if I share something, that will obviously um cut yours off, but you'll be able to come back on, huh?
Yeah, I can. There, I've got my pictures off screen, so it won't get confused or anything, and you
Oh,
can
good. So
put any
I
pictures
just
you
want to.
like up there.
Okay, let me see. It's my first time using this, so let's see. All right, Firefox. Select Windows screen. There. Select Windows screen. Oh, it's can't. Let me see. It's telling me select Windows screen, but it's not allowing me to um allow it. Firefox. Okay. Yeah, it's not allowing me to share the screen. Do I have to have the select window or screen option open, or is it a different option?
It should just be share screen. I don't know why it's not letting you do it.
Hmm.
Um,
Well,
yeah,
anywho,
I have it set that it should be able to share screen, but it's not. Not doing it for some reason.
Oh, you're talking about yours now? Don't allow.
Yeah, I'm saying that on my side, I have it so that the media will come up on the screen like from your side, but it's not doing it for some reason.
Okay, let me see if I can X out. Your browser has blocked your screen. Click the screen icon in your project says. Okay, try it now. Maybe I was blocking you or something like that. I just wanted to show you a picture, but I'm cool. I can't get it to work.
Maybe if you save the picture and open it, then you can share it.
Oh, okay. Well, it's just a picture of that I just came across with the cord coming from the head, and it's just another picture like that. Oh, it's animated. It's a GIF.
Oh, maybe that's why it won't let you. I don't
Hmm.
know if you can share GIFs or not.
Okay, I'll just X out of there. But it's so crazy that the light is coming from the head, so you couldn't find the ones coming from the navel, the belly
Yeah, I
button.
started looking there for the pictures of the ones from the belly button and I couldn't see any. So I was like, okay, that's quite strange because sometimes there's residue
Right.
but I haven't searched extensively, but just from looking at that search result, I did not see anything.
From belly button. Yeah. Well, anyway, I don't see nothing on my end, and yeah, this is so weird. Like, man. So when did you know about that? I haven't heard of that one.
When I was looking at astral projection here to see if it was any different than where I was from, that was
Hmm.
something that like struck me, and that was like 2016, 2017. I
Okay.
looked at the pictures and I'm just like, they don't connect to the belly button here. That's so weird.
Wow. And you never spoke about that. I never heard you speak about that one.
I spoke about it with SMQ. I'm not sure if we were live on air or not, but I know I
Oh,
did
okay.
speak about it with him. But I didn't like make a whole show about it or anything.
Right, right. Wow, man. Any other ones that you came across that you think I haven't heard of?
Let me see. There's like a lot of different ones. I'm trying to think of maybe one that isn't so publicized. Um, hmm,
Yeah.
what about speaking of Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark? Have you heard about that the Lost Ark is in Axiom, Ethiopia in this timeline?
Where was it before? That's an actual thing? That's an
The Ark
actual.
of the Covenant. What they're
Oh,
saying is that yes, it like here they have it, and it's in a special church in Axiom, Ethiopia, and that there's a monk that's taken a vow of silence that guards it.
yeah, I did hear about that. I didn't know they were both the same thing. That's the arc. Okay.
Yeah, so the reason that Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark was made is because
Hmm.
the reality I was from, we never found the Ark. We had no idea where it was. So that's why that whole movie was even made, is because it was lost to time. It was a mystery. So they're like, cool, we'll have Indiana Jones find it and, battle the Nazis and get it back and bring it to the States and all this mad stuff. But if it was always in Axiom, Ethiopia, then the whole movie doesn't make any sense.
Right. It doesn't, because it's called Lost Ark.
Yeah, because it was lost. That's why it doesn't make any sense, bro.
Man, I don't know, man. I need to hold somebody's hand right now. I don't know what's going on around here.
It's getting weird up in here.
Yep. Shoot, man. Whew. Man, oh man. Well, oh, the stomach changes. Remember, I was telling you, like, so before I reached out and asked about that, because I was like, is there anything going on with the stomach? Do you know what happened that day? You know, it felt like my stomach it did something that it's never done before. It was like it moved up and it moved to the left or something like that. Like it felt like bubbly inside, and that's what it felt like. Like all of that, it just moved up and moved to the left. And then I had stomach issues, for the next couple of weeks or whatever. And then I find out there's stomach changes. The actual stomach actually moved. Is what you were saying?
Yes, and how long ago was that? I can't remember. I know that at that specific time we were all having a sick stomach. We had a shift
Hmm.
where so the stomach had become very long in shape because it was starting to change. It had a new part between the stomach and the duodenum, the duodenum, as I had called it in the past, and
Hmm.
it was like really long, and it was lying down, like with its long side, you know, downwards, so that it could fit as much food as possible. And what happened during that shift is the stomach stayed long, but it suddenly turned upwards so that its longest part was facing your side instead of facing your intestines. So your stomach moved sideways and to the side in your body, and it caused lots of people to have like bad stomach like pains and
Hmm.
sickness and just all kinds of things going on. And we couldn't eat as much food then because the bottom of your stomach is now narrow instead of being extremely long and able to hold loads of food like it was before that.
Man, so I was actually able to feel that change happen. Like, what was that about? Like,
Yes, that was that's the thing, is like sometimes you can actually feel um the change occur. I'm just showing like on screen a picture of like the stomach, and so instead of just describing blindly, you see how long the stomach is and it's standing upwards. It used to
hmm
be that it was lying flat, so you had this big long stomach that you could fit loads of food in, and then when it stood
hmm
upwards, it was everybody got sick because this narrow part at the bottom was where all the food was going down, so it felt like, you know, you were way too full. I had a shift recently where the skull changed
hmm
and the teeth pinched in, and it really hurt my teeth. And I mean, really recently. It was like last week.
mm
So let me get a picture of human skull, and I'll show you. Maybe you can see the change in the upper jaw here.
hmm
So,
Yeah, no. Okay. Okay.
so if you can see this here,
Hmm.
the upper jaw there. That's a better picture right here. The upper jaw is like the front five teeth are sticking out, and then the teeth behind that are severely compressed.
hmm
And because of that,
Uh,
I was getting a lot of oh, I need to save this picture and put it up on screen because it's too small. Can't see it from
yeah,
here.
it looks weird.
One sec. It is weird, and it like it was definitely. I'm not having as much pain now, but I had some weirdness with this shift where my teeth, it was like I had the teeth from the old timeline and the skull from the new timeline. So you
Hmm.
can see the skull there now. There's like holes still drilled in the face, and there's these. You see how there's these big depressions on both sides of the front jaw where the teeth
Yeah.
are,
Yeah.
like the teeth go in
Yeah.
and out. My teeth
Yes.
were already crowded, so when my teeth were pushed in, it felt like they were like the nerves and the roots of them were getting ripped. Like it hurt so much. I even like have to chew gently even now today because it feels like someone was trying to extract my teeth. Like they were pushed so like far out of where they were before that it hurt the roots in them and it hurt the nerves around them.
To see what they. Right. Have you tried going to the dentist to see what they say about it? I guess.
I mean, I have, but the dentists don't see any changes. Like they've literally done X-rays of like it's not 360, but the X-rays where they go the whole way around your mouth and they see your teeth from all the different angles.
Yes.
And I like have had several skull changes which were so drastic they changed the positions of my teeth. And even though my dentists have literally worked on my teeth and have literally looked at those X-rays, they can't see any changes, even when the skull is wildly different than it was before. So the only thing I can do is go and be like, I have teeth sensitivity, and they're like, oh yeah, use, Sensodyne or something.
Man.
But,
yeah. Yeah. I guess it would make sense they don't see any changes if only you can. Well, now I'm losing it, but it would make sense if I guess you could say if they're a part of this reality. If that makes sense, they probably wouldn't see the changes. So maybe your X-rays will look the new way. Or
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is like they can't see when the X-ray looks completely different because there's a skull change. So they don't see any changes. So they can't see when I have a pain that's caused by a skull change, because a skull change is not something that ever comes into their reality. They're not familiar with that whatsoever. So I'm just like here, like hoping that the jaw changes back because it's putting a lot of pressure on my teeth to have it arranged this way. And sometimes a change is completely smooth and you don't feel anything at all. And then sometimes it's like a weird cut and paste job. Like someone just sticks something random into reality and you do feel the change and it hurts. And that's how you know, like, oh, okay, something has changed. I'm not feeling good. Yeah.
Wow. So you do you agree with the eye socket Mandela effect? There's supposed to be some extra hole or something dealing with the eye socket. So like they're bigger or something, or there's extra holes in the skull or something like that by the eyes.
Let me get that picture back up again. Yeah. So you see the eyes on this, where there's bone behind the eyes.
Okay. Yes.
So where I was from, there was never bone behind the eyes.
Oh, I think I remember that too.
So how they used to treat people or torture people in mental asylums is that they used to go up through your eye socket and cut at the frontal lobe of your brain for a transorbital lobotomy. And in this world, even though they still have the words transorbital lobotomy, it's not possible because you would have to fracture the entire skull to break the bone behind the eye to go up into the brain to cut it. So, yeah, so that changed not only the history, but a movie I was watching around the time of big shifts were going on back then, 2016, 2017. I was watching the movie Shutter Island with Leonardo DiCaprio, where he goes to a mental asylum, and it's this wild movie. So anyway, I watched the movie, the exact same disc, not a stream or download. It was a DVD. And there's a scene in it where he gets a transorbital lobotomy, or he's having a nightmare that he's having one, right? They're strapping him down, they're going up into his eye, and they're going to cut out bits of his brain, and it's going to be terrible. After the shift, that scene disappeared out of the movie.
What?
That scene is not in Shutter Island right now. And I'm like, okay, I think that scene is not in Shutter Island because it was never possible to do a transorbital lobotomy because the eyes are not open sockets here.
Right. Wow. So how did they do that operation now? Do you know? Did you research that part of it?
I saw one guy saying that, there's some way that they could use a chisel to try and bash their way in there. And I was just like,
Oh,
that's not possible because you'd kill a person if you put a chisel into their head.
oh
So
my
that's just
God.
bullshit. Like that's just not true. So I think it just didn't happen here because it just physically was not viable. Like even the sinus cavities, because some people are saying, "Well, you go up the nose." The sinus cavities are changing and changing and changing all the time, and they have different bones behind them, and you have like sinus cavities, like in your forehead. Sometimes I think we have one right now, forehead sinus cavity, which is pretty weird. And that affects where you can operate too, like especially in regards to the nose. Like where are the cavities? Where is it possible to actually do a surgery in?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I have noticed people say that doctors usually are not affected, which is good because they'd mess up their surgeries if they were, because the body changes completely and then your medication and surgery doesn't work because it's a different human body that you're working on. But for the ones that are affected, or rather, when a big change comes in, sometimes people are affected enough that they're not treating, they don't know how to treat the new body correctly, and there will be a wave of problems in a hospital. For example, something specific I'm thinking of is there was a time in 2017 where we were very, very resistant to pain medication. And I happened to be going to the dentist during that time, and they had to give me 10 shots into my gums of pain medication to numb me up.
Man, 10?
Because I was
They needed
10, and I was like, I'm probably going to die. You're giving me a lot of shots.
yeah.
And just whatever that was going on with the human body at that point in time, I was metabolizing it immediately. It wasn't having any effect on me. I wasn't even fully numb after 10 shots.
Man.
Which was not fun because I was getting a root canal done and I had to feel it. So,
Man. So you weren't even numb after 10 shots of it?
I was not. And then it changed because I went back and I only had to get 3 shots, like sometime after that.
Wow.
And I was numb and it worked fine. So I was like, okay, something real weird happened there, which obviously is a big issue. If you're going into a surgery, you're getting something done, and the pain medication doesn't work, the amount is completely different that you need for it to actually work. How is the doctor supposed to figure that one out? Yeah, these are serious questions.
Wow. I don't know. This is all new to me, so I'm just still trying to understand it all, you know.
I did get the chance to ask a cardiologist about where the heart was, and they weren't sure. And I was like, Lord God, you're a cardiologist. You're a doctor who works on hearts, and you're not sure if the heart is in the center or on the left.
That is maddening. I'm telling you, how can they not be sure?
My
that doesn't
eyes
make any
were
sense.
bulging. I was like, are you serious? Because obviously this person, I was like, that's not a dangerous question to ask. That's not going to trigger anything wild, in my opinion. I just thought that they would say, oh, it's in the center, or oh, it's on the left. But they, got all confused and were like, oh, I'm not sure.
Oh my goodness. And they're doctors too, and they do that type of work. How can they not be sure?
They're a cardiologist, which means they're a specialist in hearts specifically. And they don't know where it's located. And I was just like, I wonder if this is going on across the board in medicine. Like people that are specialists on stomachs, gastrology, they don't know where the stomach is anymore. Is that going on? Like that's really weird.
So the heart really moved to the center. Like it really moved to the center because I know. I know from experience that it was on the left, at least from my knowledge, like being in school, putting your hand over the heart, doing the Pledge of Allegiance. So it really
I was about
moved.
to say, Pledge of Allegiance. You ask someone to do the Pledge of Allegiance right now, where did they put their hand? Over the left. And it's because you're giving a pledge of you're putting your hand over your heart, you're swearing, you're saying, yes, this is a pledge I'm giving. Why would you put it just over your shoulder or something, like if the heart's in the middle? So, I mean, I think that still works, although I have heard of people putting their hand like on the center of their chest for the Pledge of Allegiance now. So I don't know, like if they're trying to erase that bit of residue.
Why do you think people are pledging allegiance to the flag? I mean, I know that sounds weird. I'm not a teenager, so I should know. But I'm just going to ask you, why do you think people are pledging allegiance to the flag? Does that make any sense? Like, um, why do we do it like when we're so young in school and we staying out there with our hands over our heart? What does that whole thing actually mean? I never really knew, to be honest.
Well, I mean, I suppose from like a surface level, it's about creating a sense of unity, especially in a country where people are from all kinds of different places. You wanted to create one identity and not just be Italians and, Japanese people and, different groups of people that just don't talk to each other, because that wouldn't really build a nation. But I think from like a hidden point of view, children have like the most powerful creative aspect that probably even exists in this realm. And the heart is the engine of manifestation. So if you're telling them to heartfeltly bring this into being by saying it, then you're using etheric energy to build an idea, to build a consciousness machine of a country. Once you make the idea scaffolding, you make it real in this place.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's a
Right.
lot
Right.
more effective than having adults do it because, by the time you're an adult, unless you're, like not affected by a lot of environmental things that are going on, most people have most of the life force eaten out of them. They don't see anything anymore. They don't, that's why a lot of people say like, oh, I could see ghosts when I was little, or I could see fairies when I was little, or I could see rainbows, or rainbows that no one else could see, or all kinds of stuff. In most people that dies. In some people that continues throughout life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the normal condition for humans is that it should always continue throughout life. Like my personal thought, and I could be totally wrong, I think your pineal gets so crusty that your creative aspect dies. And I think for some people, just the pineal doesn't crust over, so then you can still function normally, you know?
Okay. Okay. Yeah, because I've heard stuff about keeping the pineal gland clear of fluoride. So how much fluoride do you think is you know lethal? Because it's in the toothpaste, and it helps your teeth. It helps your teeth as well, from what I'm hearing. I don't know how much is lethal.
I mean, there's a lot of talk about the teeth and stuff. I'm not sure how much it even helps the teeth, but I
Okay.
don't think that it's lethal at this point in time because our bodies are so different now and we metabolize
Mm,
things so much that probably a dose that would have been lethal isn't lethal now. And I mean,
right.
this is pure conjecture, but I personally think that if you blasted us in our old bodies with the 5G, it would have done a lot more damage than it does with our new bodies. Like the things we're being blasted with are getting stronger as we are getting stronger. We can take more and more punishment now in the
Mm-hmm.
form that we're in than we were able
Mm-hmm.
to before.
Okay. Okay. So I guess that's the part where people are saying it's only going to get worse, or it's getting worse, or whatever like that. What about the people that don't realize the Mandela effect? Are they changing too? Or, like you said, we are at different levels of changing. So if there's 5G out there and people are saying 5G is dangerous, then aren't they getting affected? If they Do they have the same body changes? Does this even make like? Is it just
Yes.
us? Okay, are we just aware of the body changes that everybody's going through it, or are we just at different levels?
Yeah, like from what I can see is I'm not sure if it's like people are changing or we're going to different timelines where things were always this way. So we are changing. When we arrive, we change to match what the other people look like. Because I don't see the vast population going through the pains or the shift sickness, but they
Yeah.
do, their bodies match up with the anatomy drawings that they have. So they have those bodies that are able to take more punishment. But I don't know if the things that are done affect them worse or not because they haven't woken up to themselves yet. So they don't have, the same kind of layer of energy to protect them. because they haven't woken up to it yet. So I'm not sure if they're getting a worse dose of stuff or if they're kind of skirting by too.
Okay. Okay. All right. All right. Cool. Cool. Do you have a little bit more time? Like a couple more minutes?
Yeah, just a couple more minutes. I do. Yeah.
Okay. Do you mind if we show this a quick video that I created?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me see here. I think I just want to see what people think about it. I think my sharing capabilities. I have to learn how to get that working. Do you mind going to it on your end?
Yeah, I can go to it on my end. Is it on YouTube?
No, it's actually on my website.
Okay. Give me
Let me see.
the website and I'll or the link or something and I'll go there.
How do I send it to you through the system? Is it possible? Or I
Yeah.
can just tell you.
There's do you see private chat there at the side?
Yep, and it's sent.
There you go. Okay, I've got the link. One sec, I have to copy it because I can't go from
Click
there.
it. Yeah. Right.
Okay. All right.
So I do
at the log.
Okay, cool. So I do video production. Excuse me. And through my productions, I just try to propagate something positive or what I think is positive. And so I just wanted to like showcase one of these videos to kind of like, since we're on this topic, it kind of goes with the topic a little bit. And the video is called Propagate Light Digital Invasion.
Okay. Where would that be?
Oh, you'll have to scroll down and you should run into a Dark Phantom.
I see Dark Phantom.
And it's right under it.
Digital Invasion. I see it now. Okay. Let me make this full screen. There we go. And I think I have to take my headphones out and play it loud so that there's any sound. So
okay.
Let me just do that. One sec. Okay.
It's 55 seconds, so. Are you able to enlarge it? The far right. The one on the far right.
I don't seem to be able to make it bigger.
Right there. On the far right of the video. On the far right, keep going. Right there.
Did that make it bigger?
Yep. Well,
let me play that one more time because it was so small, huh? Okay.
The sound is not coming in very clear, so it might be better just to. Get out of here. I don't want to be here. I gotta make it better. I don't want to be here. I gotta make it better. Robots.
Like robots. All I see is robots. All up in this world. Getting tired of it. Got to yell. Getting tired of these robots all up in this world. Like robots. Getting tired of it. I got to yell.
So, okay, so I'm a bit into the hip hop field, and I started off rapping, and so I got into video production. So that video right there, it'll probably sound better if you were to actually like just go to the site and just look at it from there. But because in the chat the scenes are moving slower than the actual audio.
Oh, okay.
But so it would be more impactful to watch it that way. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of show that it just kind of gets into people, like, let's say if you watch a lot of TV and then you just kind of like like we were talking about earlier, if you're like just tapped into the digital part of the world, then you'll probably end up being like a robot, and that's kind of like what I was trying to say. You know, some people are kind of like robots out there. That's what I was trying to say with that video. But it's probably hard to understand watching it this way. But I appreciate you playing it.
I'm
I
gonna
thank you
put
so
the
much for
link
that.
in the description so everyone can play it. Like they can go to the blog and they can play it.
Oh, right on, right on. I appreciate that. Appreciate that. Well, thank you for the chat. You know, I will keep in contact with you, and I appreciate you. I appreciate it so much. Thank you.
Thank you for like so much of your time as well.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Let me minimize this. All right, cool. Yeah. Okay. Cool. 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 I appreciate it. So, and I appreciate you sharing the link. That is my video work and my photo editing work, my podcast. So I do appreciate the share. I could use more interaction. I do appreciate that.
For sure. I can I'll put it on my Twitter too. And we'll share it around.
Okay. Cool.
Get some more views.
Okay. Okay. Cool. And I'll put this show up too. You know, if it's cool with you,
Oh, it's
put it on my
definitely
page.
cool with me. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. 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 Well, I'll be in contact with you. I appreciate it so much, and I'll look out for the pre-recorded version of this.
Sounds cool. And I will talk to you soon. Thank you so much.
Okay, cool. And do I press like a stop button or something here, or?
I think the stop button's on my end. So
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. All right, cool. I'll hear from you. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
thank you too.
All right, bye.
Bye bye.